This is Rugby Radio.
Rugby Radio
With Stuart Cameron.
Well, hello, welcome to Rugby Radio, 3 hours of live rugby coverage of Scottish Club Rugby, the only place that delivers this service. So if you're a fan of Club Rugby in Scotland, this is the place for you every Saturday afternoon. Well, our commentary game today is in National 1 at Riverside Park. Jed Forest taking on Highland, a vital game for both teams who need the points at this very early stage of the season. And let's go down there right away and say a very good afternoon to Robin Purdy.
Good afternoon, Stuart. Good afternoon from Riverside.
Now, this, of course, is your old club, isn't it, Jed Forest? So obviously you've got a soft spot for them.
Yes, I'm partial to the end, of course. Absolutely, but no, yeah, I had a few great years down here, born and bred in Jedburgh, so it's always good to be back.
What was your career like as a player?
Came up from Jed Thistle, played a lot of rugby for Jed Seconds back in the day. Couldn't get in the Jed first team for Ronnie Kirkpatrick.
Yes, he's rather good, wasn't he?
He was just a tad. He was just a tad good as a number 8, which is a position I played. But no, learned a lot of Ronnie, and I played a few first team games here as well. Played against some good Hawick teams, some good Melrose teams, some good Gala teams, etc. And yeah, I had some decent victories here at Riverside, and not quite as many on the road. It was a wee bit. We played here better than we travelled back then, at least. So, but no, a lot of happy memories down here.
Great stuff. Well, both teams, of course, in the bottom half with only one win between them, but that doesn't really tell the whole story, does it? Because Jed have had bonus points from all their losses, and Highland have been playing the top teams. Yeah,
they have. I don't think Highland will be too disheartened. Although they need to pick up a win somewhere along the line to get off the mark. But yeah, you're right. They've played Stirling, they've played GHA. Those are going to be two of the top 3 teams. I'm pretty certain of that this season. So, but yeah, they'll need to get a win sooner or later in a season where 10 out of it's 10 into 3 in terms of relegation, but it's not in reality. It's probably 7 into 3.
Well, earlier on you had a chat with Highland head coach Davy Carson. We'll hear that chat straight after we hear your interview with Jed head coach, and that of course is Stuart Johnson.
So Stuart, head coach of Jed these days, thanks for joining us at the back of the stand here at Riverside. You mentioned on the Friday preview show that last week's performance at Gala was one of the worst you'd ever seen. So what exactly went wrong?
Honestly, I've got no idea. We didn't turn up from the off. First kick-off, nobody was underneath it, landed on the grass, and that just set the tone for the rest of the game for us, to be fair. Look, it was a Border derby, it's always going to be form out the window, it always is, but in terms of where we were at the week before against Boroughmuir, certainly for large periods of that game, and then for bigger the first half, Selkirk for periods of the game, we were nowhere near that level. As I said, I think we said we went back about 100 pages from where we started off during pre-season. So look, we just need to get our heads glued on right from the off and just stick to our structures. That's the main thing. Like, we didn't get any structure last week for whatever reason. Defensively, we were okay. We only missed 4 tackles during the whole game, but just our attack shape and what we were trying to do with the ball just was non-existent, unfortunately. So, and
after all of that, however, Jed looked to be in a much better place as a club than they were last season. So, what do you put that down to? What's changed?
Look, I think there was. I've said this already. I think I wasn't here last season, and I'm just going by what the various people have said, whether it's players, committee, management, etc. But there was a whole range of reasons last season, and you can't put it down to one thing. But myself, Herdy, Ryan have just came in here, started from fresh, basically spoke to all the boys, got them back training, and they've all bought into it, and there's a really positive atmosphere around about here. I mean, you look last night, the Lions went down to Netherdale and won 44-22, which is brilliant. So look, the Lions are starting to come through. I say we just need to get our performances right on a Saturday, but in terms of the whole buzz about the club and the general feeling here, yeah, it's brilliant.
And given the nature of the league this season, where 3 out of 10 go down, but it looks, in all honesty, like Stirling, GHA and probably Glasgow Accies won't be in the relegation shake-up. So is it too early, Stuart, to be talking about must-win games?
I don't think it's too early to be talking about must-win games. Like we've said today, that probably today's a must-win, not from a league point of view, but just from our own mental point of view. That you go back to, I said it at Selkirk, we got beat, but you look at the stats, we dominated every single possession bit of the stats apart from the scoreline. Bigger, we were 26-10 up at half time, going up the hill, didn't score a point in the second half. Boroughmuir, we were 26-10 down, and then had a really good period, and we got a bonus point win. And then we go to last week where it's just poor in general. So we've got 8 points from 3 games. I really think we should be on 14 points from 3 games. So do the boys when we review the video. So in terms of that side of things, today's must win, just to get that buzz back, get that confidence back, and get our shape back, and just a bit of confidence in our ability and everything that we've been trying to put in during pre-season. But in terms of the league, no, I don't think today's a must-win. But if you look at our fixture list going forward, we've got Highland today, who haven't won a game, and they'll be fighting for a win down here. We then go to GHA next week, who have had a decent start, and then we've got Stirling at home, who are a formidable force at the moment. So we've got some tough games coming up. And to be fair, if you look at this league, there isn't many easy games in there. If any easy games, it's going to be a fight for every single game. So but we're back at home. We've won 1 from 1 at home in the league. We just need to make it 2 from 2. We need to try and win our home games, pick up points when we're away, and we have been doing that. As I say, we've got 2 points at Biggar, we've got 1 at Gala, so we're picking up points. That's the main thing.
Well, Stuart, you'll, as you mentioned there, no doubt looking to pick up 4, if not 5 today. Thanks very much for your time, as always, and all the best for today and the rest of the season.
Brilliant. Cheers, Robin.
So I'm joined at the back of the stand here at Riverside with Davy Carson, head coach of Highland. Davy, thanks for joining us after what I'm sure has been a long bus journey for you boys today. And on Rugby Radio, we always look on with admiration at the kind of miles you guys need to clock up, and I'm guessing this is one of your longest trips of the season today. So give us an insight into how a day like this plays out for Highland.
Yeah, well, as you say, this is our longest journey of the season. We were down Gala a couple of weeks ago, which is 20 mile less than this is. But yeah, obviously this morning, last time we came down, we had a lot of disruption with traffic in Edinburgh, so we planned to leave at 7:30 this morning, which means some of the boys were leaving about 6:30 to get down to Inverness. And today didn't help when we had a jumper on the Keswick Bridge, so the Keswick Bridge was closed, so there was a 25 mile detour to get to the bus, so we're a wee bit delay in leaving. But yeah, I say we've grown up with all the boys that play at Highland, grew up with getting on a bus on a Saturday, and we just have our stops and have our chats and stuff on the bus, and they all have their music and stuff, so we just get on with it. It's just part of rugby for us.
And you find yourself at the moment in a kind of unfamiliar position at the foot of the table. Is there a sense of mounting pressure around the club at the moment, given that there's 3 going down this season?
No. We're 3 games in. We had a good pre-season bar the injuries. As I say, we played Edinburgh Accies pre-season and lost our entire back row. And the last couple of weeks we've lost another 4 forwards, proper starters in the first, So it's given the other guys the opportunity. Guys that are on the fringes would normally be on the bench, a couple of seconds guys coming up, and you look to the future, that's never a bad thing. Although, yeah, you think there's a bit of pressure on at the moment because we've only got 1 point, but we know we're going to get stronger as the season goes on. The next 3 or 4 weeks we'll have guys coming back in, but we're delighted with the way the young boys have performed in the pack and them coming up from the seconds.
And you kind of touched upon it there, I guess. Can you take some comfort from the fact that 2 of the losses have been against Stirling and GHA, and that they, along with maybe Glasgow Accies, look like they might be a cut above this season? Yeah,
it was certainly, the Stirling game, big men. And, you get used to it playing in the forward pack, but when you look at the size of their backs, all big, strong men. And yeah, 20 minutes to go, we were 31-24 down and we got a red card. We were in it till the end, but as you say, the big kilos does take effect the last 10-15 minutes. I say most teams are, you're in it for an hour and 5 minutes, and after that the fatigue starts showing, and it certainly did against Stirling, where they ran, I think, 4 late tries, and the boys were just on their knees having to make the big tackles time after time.
Yeah, and you run up a few points against them nonetheless, so that there's obviously tries there.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, it's the only point we've got, against the team that they're talking about it's going to go up, and we got a bonus point try against them, and one when we were down to 14 men as well. And that performance really pleased. Like, the scrum dominated. They gave away, I think, 6 or 7 scrum penalties, and that's when we were down to 7 in the park as well. So loads of positive to take. Frustrating at the moment that we can't put out all the guys we want to put out, but as I said, it's given other younger boys an opportunity.
And where do you think today's game can be won today? You know, in what facets of the game do you feel you can get the upper hand on, Jed?
Yeah, we worked a lot. It's just quick ball. I say, watching their games as well, they like to run it from anywhere, similar to ourselves. So what we found in the last 2 or 3 games, we need to look after the ball. You know, we get to 4 or 5 phases, and if we've only made 10, 15 yards, we think we'll have to do the miracle pass or the long kick and give the ball back again. So we've certainly worked all this week and going through multi-phases, keeping the ball, and then we think we've got the strike runners out wide that are going to score some tries.
Well, Davey, like I say, thanks for joining us. It's looking like it's going to be a good afternoon, rugby, weather-wise, etc. Here's hoping for a good game, and we wish you well.
Yeah, Roman, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Davy Carson, head coach of Highland, and before him Stuart Johnson, looking for a better Jed performance this afternoon, both talking to Robin Purdy. That game kicking off at 3 o'clock in National Wimble. Let's turn our attention to the Premiership, and last week Ayr put 82 points on a weakened Musselburgh team. This week they visit the Borders for the first time this season to take on Selkirk, and watching this one for us is Sam Matthews.
That's right, Stuart. Welcome to Philip Hall, where the home side Selkirk are 2 for 3 so far with that first blip against Mar at the start of the season, but they've been in fine form, including a win over the Borders team Kelso last week. The only change, according to the team sheet so far, is Ethan Wilson coming in to replace Aaron McComb, who I've seen walking around, and he is due to a pulled hamstring. That is why he is not in the side today. However, they face everyone's pre-season favourites, and you can tell by the crowd here that they know the heavy hitters are in town. They welcome Ayr. 15 points from 15 with 3 try bonus points. They've already sent away Watsonians, Curry, and a devastating win at Musselburgh last week, 82-0. They come in with 6 changes in the side, and as you'll hear with my interview with Grant Anderson later, that is purely due to rotation, which shows the strength and depth they possess. The Ayrshire men arrive off the bus full of confidence, and they'll be looking to keep the pressure on the rest of the table and sitting atop the tree in Scottish rugby. So Sesh, coming into the day 5th into game week 4, how do you take that just at the start of the season?
Well, we'll take it. We've got there because we've been playing some good rugby, you know, and I think everybody's just galvanised each week even more with the new recruits coming in. We're getting better, we know each other better, and it's showing our performances. Nobody goes to Kelso and comes away with points very easily, and we're really pleased with that 8-minute performance last week. Going into this week, massive challenge for the guys. But the challenge for our guys is to improve each week and just see what we've got today, and we're excited to play here.
Obviously, you mentioned recruitment there, and you spoke to Stuart previously about it, but how difficult was this off-season? It must have felt like a second season with how much effort everybody was putting in behind the scenes.
Definitely, it's not easy. It's not easy, and it's a 12-month programme for a head coach and committee and other coaches. But look, I thought the player got him I've made a positive effect, and that's the key, and everybody else has got on the back of that, and increased the intensity of training and going into games, and it's made the whole squad's now making everybody else better, and that's the key. Is the focus again today for us is, look, where can we go here? Here's a challenge for you guys. Well, it's right in front of us. 2 good training sessions. We've worked a lot hard on how we've got to play Ayr. They're a different beast for other teams. So that excites me. The players are buzzing to get out there and to see what we can do today.
And you mentioned Ayr, they're sort of what everybody are calling the sort of standard for this league, or the pinnacle even. Only one change in the side today with Ethan coming in for Aaron. What is that something that you look forward to, being able to name the same side subject to injury as much as you can week on week?
Yes, we've got to pick up knocks, right? That's just the nature of the beast, and I think it's about protecting players. And Aaron's got a knock, and in fact Josh Welsh is out today as well with a knock. But we've got people like Blake Cullen coming in and Ethan Wilson who have done really well, and Blake Cullen's played a lot of rugby for the win. So there's no much I miss there, okay, apart from that experience. So I'm excited to see how the 2 players go today, and just gel right back in. So we've got that little bit of wiggle room in terms of strength and depth this year, and it's important that we just manage players. If we can stop them playing because of these niggles, then they're going to last longer for us later on in the season when it's important.
Well, Grant, 3 wins from 3 to start off, all bonus points as well. How's camp spirits?
Yeah, great. We had our ladies' day last weekend, and on the back of that victory, the club's in a good place. Our 2's won as well, and obviously with my kind of rotation policy, we've got guys dropping in and out and starting and not starting, so that's always good for the atmosphere and team spirit.
I was about to mention exactly that. You've got 6 changes this week from the impressive win last week. How tough is it to sit down with players of the calibre you have and the sort of squad you have and say, look, we've won 82-0. There's nothing you did wrong, but this week you're sitting down.
Well, there's always something that someone's done wrong, so that's kind of my philosophy. I'm all about rotation, because sooner or later we'll get injuries and guys need to have been exposed to this level of rugby and know all the detail of what we're doing. So certainly the conversation with Chris Hyde, who's the top try scorer in the league, was an interesting one, but he understands, like, it's been my philosophy from day one that we will rotate regardless of what name you have or what you've done the previous week. There's a bigger plan in place, so boys have kind of bought into it. So Blair McPherson, for example, the last time he didn't start a game was 2018. So it's new for him as well, but luckily we're good pals, so he took it okay.
That must have been some pint you had to buy him there. But we go on to it there, and you're looking at it's like big challenge. Obviously the game last night as well, Watsonians and Accies had a bit of a ding dong battle up there at Matterside. When you're watching these challenges come across, obviously you've already played Watsonians, how does it help you trying to game plan, or what alarm bells does it raise to you watching some sides can really have a dominant week and then next week they can come out and look totally different?
I think certainly we try and focus on ourselves, and I'm well aware that everybody, there's a lot of noise around, we're the favourites and this, that and the next thing. We just focus on ourselves. We are developing our game from what it was previously, both the club team and the guys that were with the Bulls, and we're trying to set standards as high as we can, so we focus on ourselves and then week to week try and improve on that regardless of what the score was. So our review session on Tuesday focused mainly on what we didn't do well, which was, there was things in there that I wasn't happy about. We've got internal targets that we just didn't hit, so yeah, pretty harsh that way, but that's the only way we drive standards, and I suppose it stops boys getting too comfy. That's the worst thing. I think if boys know they're starting and their place is secure, then when they make mistakes they just shrug it off, whereas we're wanting to drive standards much higher than that, certainly.
And then for today, then I suppose my question would be to ask you is, what should I be looking out for? What are the things on Tuesday we've worked to try fix in the game plan?
So what you will see today is you'll see a powerful display from our forwards. We'll look to vary that attack slightly, not be so one-dimensional, which is a work in progress, I think. From my philosophy, it changes a wee bit to Pat's, kind of on that handover, and I also want my backs to be playing with a wee bit more flair. I'm hoping, Selkirk have played well. They played very well last week, so I'm hoping that you should see a kind of steady and secure back three that are working together, because we know they're going to kick a lot, and then I'd be hoping for conviction on line break. And although last week that was quite high, I've got a percentage in mind that I want to be hitting when we make a line break, so hopefully you'll see that today.
Grant Anderson, head coach of Ayr, looking for 4 bonus point wins on the bounce, and before him Sesh Henderson wanting a hat-trick of wins in a row, so it should be quite interesting down at Philip Hawke. Well, last night there was one game played in the Premiership. It was a big win for Watsonians over Edinburgh Accies, 45 points to 5. We'll hear Jason Baggett a little bit later on the programme, in fact at round about half-time in our featured match, Jed against Highland. That's coming up very shortly at 3 o'clock. We'll hear from Jason Baggett with his reaction to that win. Watsonians finally flexing their muscles against a very good Accies team who beat Curry and Hawick already. Well, also in Edinburgh, Heriots are at home to Mar, and our reporter here this afternoon is Hugh Brown.
Heriots have been unstoppable so far, having won all 3 of their games to sit joint top of the Premiership alongside Ayr, albeit with a vastly inferior points difference. Mar have won 1, lost 1, and they drew with Glasgow Hawks last week and are 6th in the table. Mar have shown flashes of good play, but need to find a way to extend that to the full 80 minutes. In team news, just one change in the starting team for Heriots, with Ronan Sadak available again in the second row, allowing captain Rory Leishman to drop back to his favourite number 8 position. On the bench, Hamish MacArthur and Lewis Wells, who played for Heriots in the Super Sixes, are released by Edinburgh's Senior Academy to play today. While for Mar, Scott MacDonald comes in at 13 in a rejigged backline with Callum Steele starting in the back row. My prediction is that the home side will continue their unbeaten run and prove to be too strong for the men from Troon. Here at Golden Acre, it's an overcast afternoon for the game between Heriots and Mar. Earlier I spoke to the 2 head coaches. In a moment we'll hear from Kenny Diffenthal from Mar, but first Bob McKillop from Heriots. Bob, it's a perfect start to the season for Heriots.
Yeah, I mean, fits and starts in the first 2 games. We were pretty pleased with the way we played at Mansfield last weekend. It's never an easy place to go. The conditions weren't easy, but I felt we moved on to a whole new level last week. So yeah, very, very pleased with our game management.
What about Mar today? Are they a difficult proposition?
Yeah, I think one of the great things about this season is nobody knows what to expect week to week, and I think that's good, because that's not what everybody told us it was going to be, right? So yeah, look, this is a massive cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. We're taking each game as it comes. They were Scottish champions 2 years ago.
Now, on your website, it says that the club are expecting to continue with the level of playing that you had in the Super Sixes before it was disbanded, and to do that they put in place a first 15 coaching team, yourself, to enable them to do that. No pressure then.
Yeah, but I think we owe it to the boys, right? I mean, it's a lot of those guys who were Heriots players before Super 6 and are still Heriots players after it. If you say to them that they peaked in their rugby career at the ages of, 22 to 28, that's quite a sad proposition to lay in front of them. So it's just about allowing the players to reach their potential, supporting them to be the best they can possibly be. Now, did we learn things in the Super Series process about that? Absolutely. And some of those things we're not giving up on. So, we have a focus on strength and conditioning, but we don't do it as a club. We monitor it remotely because we're back to the amateur days and we train 2 times a week. Video analysis is something we don't want to give up on, but we force that into our 2 nights a week. Maybe the one biggest difference, spend a lot of time on individual player skills, because I always think most teams spend 90% of their time in organisation, 10% on skills, and without good skills you can't play. So I think we owe it to the players, as does every club, to carry on trying to help them progress.
But is it a level playing field this season? Because the Super Sixes, former Super Sixes clubs, have access to players who played semi-professionally last season.
I mean, look, I think it's a transition year, but as I say, I think I counted up yesterday out of the squad that we've listed today, I think 14 or 50 of them were either Heriots before Super Series or joined Heriots during Super Series but joined the Blues, didn't join Super Series. So it's a transition season for everybody. I do think it's a level playing field. There's a lot of Super Series boys turning up at other different clubs. Do we have an advantage? I don't think so.
Kenny, a mixed start to the season for Mar so far. One win, 1 loss and 1 draw.
Yeah. I mean, it's we're reasonably happy with the start. Obviously, a few blips here and there, but obviously, good week's training under the belt now. So we just need to take it from there.
What about Heriots today? They're unbeaten so far.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a class outfit. Like I said through the week, it's a class outfit. They're well drilled. We showed glimpses of what we could do last week for maybe 15-20 minutes. So we need that for 80 minutes if we're going to be in with a chance at all.
Do you think you are at a disadvantage because of the former Super 6 players playing for some of their own clubs?
I don't know if it's a disadvantage or if it's just guys that have had exposure to a longer time at the top level above. But yeah, I think it's a good test for the lads to see where that level is, and to try and challenge themselves.
What are your prospects this season, Mark? Would you be happy with a top 6 finish?
Yes, I think we'd be happy with the top 6 finish. We'd obviously want to push for the top, but the way the restructure of our squad is, we've got trying to get some youngsters as much game time as possible for the club going forward. So yeah, that's the first challenge is to make sure that we stick in the Prem, and then try and push for the top.
And today, then, what's your prediction for today?
Oh, I don't know. It's kind of drizzly day here, so I don't know if that's going to be a leveller or if that's going to be disadvantage. So we'll have to wait and see.
Mar head coach Kenny Diffenthal, and also hearing from Bob McKillop from Heriots, in charge this season. Also in the Premiership today, Curry face off against Hawick. Great rivals in the Premiership over the last few years, but in this new look division, things very different as far as league positions are concerned. Curry bottom with no wins yet, Hawick in 8th spot, and we can get a quick word with the Greens head coach Graham Hogg.
Doesn't come any easier this week. The big thing that we've spoke about this week in training is what we do learn from last week. There's been some frank conversations, excellent communications, especially our leadership group stepping up and making sure that what happened last Saturday hopefully doesn't happen again. We've obviously still got long-term injuries to Stuart Graham, Marcus Brogan, Connor Sutherland, but we've got a full squad to pick from, alongside a couple of professionals that will be hopefully making their debut for us moving forward.
Graham Hogg looking for a reaction after Hawick's home defeat against Heriots last Saturday. Glasgow Hawks are at home to Kelso, and Musselburgh host Melrose at Stony Hill. And watching this one for us is Donald Crawford.
It's a very grey day here at Stony Hill in Musselburgh. Both teams are coming the back of losses, so be looking to make up for it. Melrose welcome back Harry Morris and Jerry Blythe Lafferty in the pro draft, while Musselburgh have Finlay Thompson playing at 12. Mel's team, Rolly Brett shifts to 12. Evan Davis, 18-year-old Canadian, comes in at 10 to make his debut. Stuart Hutchison and Doug Crawford come onto the bench after being unavailable last week. For Musselburgh, Craig Owenson, Neil McNairn and Ewan Bonthron return to the pack will look to steady up the set piece. It'll be a huge game for both teams.
Donald Crawford there at Stony Hill for us this afternoon. So Premiership then, of course, last night Watsonians 45, Embrackis 5. That was played under the Mireside lights. Curry versus Hoyt today. Glasgow Hawks against Kelso. Heriots versus Mar. Musselburgh v Melrose and Selkirk against Ayr. That is the Premiership menu, which looks rather tasty to me. In National 1, Dundee against Gala. GHA versus Stirling County. We'll be certainly keeping an eye on that one. Both unbeaten, and a lot of people saying in the media and social media as well that if Stirling County win at Braidholme this afternoon, then might as well give them the trophy, because not many people are going to get close. GHA have certainly had a great season themselves with 3 wins out of 3. They'll be wanting to get a home victory today, and Scott Plumridge making his 50th appearance at GHA. What a celebration that would be if GHA can get past Stirling County. Glasgow Accies against Biggar. Jed Forest versus Highland. That's our featured match. We'll be going down there very shortly. Peebles against Boroughmuir. And then in National 2 there was a game last night. Kirkcaldy 37, Stewart's Melville 35. Big win for Kirkcaldy. That's 2 in a row for them now against the 2 big guns. Kirkcaldy beating Stewart's Melville last night, and also Falkirk the week before by a single point, 41-40. Last week they take on GHK. Newton Stewart against Gordonians, and the other match is Preston Lodge versus Berwick.
This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whiskey making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
With over 30 years' experience in print and embroidery, BE Uniforms are one of Scotland's leading rugby teamwear specialists. We currently supply many great clubs across Scotland and the north of England, offering brands such as Adidas, Macron, Canterbury and BE Sport. We have a specialist teamwear team who collectively have over 60 years' experience in the trade, delivering quality teamwear and finding solutions to the challenges out there. If your club is looking for a new supplier and would like to know more, get all the details at beuniforms.co.uk. Proud sponsors of Rugby Radio and Borders Rugby TV. BE Uniforms, your identity is our purpose.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio.
Yes, we're here every Saturday from 2:30 till 5:30. That gives us an opportunity to get reaction from players and coaches after the games, so stay tuned for that. But let's go to Riverside Park now for our commentary game. It's Jed Forest against Highland in National League 1. Very important game for both. Let's join Robert Hogg and Robin Purdy.
Good afternoon, Stuart, and welcome everyone to Riverside Park on a dry but dull early autumn Saturday, where one of the southernmost clubs in the land take on one of the most northern, Highland, making the long trek to the very south for a fixture that both these clubs could do to win even this early in the campaign. Jed set 1 win from their opening 3 games, but the losses have yielded bonus points, while Highland are yet to register a victory, but in fairness have already played a couple of the division's big hitters in Stirling and GHA. Looking at the teams, Jed have Lewis Young at fullback, Robbie Shearer-Gibb and Mark Glenn are out wide. Rory Marshall and Gregor Young provide huge experience in the centres. Young, Aaron Weatherheads at 10 with Robbie Douglas at 9. Grant Paxton, Ryan Briggs and Jack Taylor packed down in the front row. Skipper Clark Skeldon and Ben Fotheringham are the second row, with Kyle Grieve, Ben Howe and Gary Young forming the back row. Highland have Adru Murutoki at 15. Dan Corr and Magnus Henry are the wingmen. Seamus Ross and James Blair are at 12 and 13. Scott Fraser's at 10 with Rory MacDonald at 9. Stephen Murray, Ollie Smith and Johnny Milton are the front row. The middle row is Rory Myton and Dylan Monk, Richie Dennis, Owen Wemyss and Owen MacDonald, the breakaways. Tom French is today's man in the middle, with assistants being John Cram and Ronan McHugh, and alongside me today is a real stalwart of this particular parish in Robert Hogg. So Robert, this looks like a fixture that Jed will have targeted for at least 4 points given Highland's league position.
Yeah, absolutely. It's two on paper seem to be pretty strong teams. Both sides obviously not started the campaign how they would have wanted to have started. So Highland come all the way down here looking to cause some sort of an upset or get at least a couple of points here. So I'm looking forward to this. It's perfect conditions for both teams. This is the way both teams like to play rugby, so I'm looking forward to seeing what both sides can produce on the day for the crowd.
It certainly is perfect conditions, nice and calm, no rain. Highland have kicked off. They're attacking what you'd consider to be the bottom end here at Riverside in their predominantly green kits. Jed in their traditional royal blue and white. It's been taken in, the kick-off by Jed, and they're just looking to go through the phases early in the piece here. It's out to Gregor Young, to his twin Lewis. He hits it up and he's tackled hard by Dylan Monk. Jed still in possession here. Happy just to keep it in the forwards. The latest carry being from Kyle Grieve. That won't be the first time we'll say that this afternoon, one would assume. It's been taken in there by Murutoki, the kick downfield though. Now it's been put in the air by the standoff. Scott Fraser, hugely experienced. That's a brilliant take on the run there by Weatherhead, I think it was, and he's taken it into the contact, so that gives Jed a chance to set it up now, and that's a first and powerful carry of the afternoon. Ben Fotheringham, usually a number 8, but slotting in at second row this afternoon alongside the skipper Clark Skeldon. Bit of bulk there in the Jed Boiler house today, and Weatherhead has another crack. Jed still in and around the halfway line here, but neat and tidy so far. First touch of the afternoon for local butcher Ryan Briggs. Decent carry as well. And here's the new signing from Canterbury in New Zealand, Jack Taylor. Let me tell you, he's a big old lump of a boy. Rory Marshall sees a wee bit of space, and that's a half break, and he's still going. Marshall up and over the 10 metre lines. Strong start by Jed here, composed, happy to go through the phases, nothing silly at this stage. And another big carry. That's a strong start to the game by Fotheringham, and the referee's arm is out, so Jed playing with a free ball here. Slick hands in the midfield by the skipper Skeldon, so Jed still with the advantage here. Skeldon again tries to go out the back door. It's gone to ground, but the shrill of the referee's whistle will bring them back for a penalty to Jed. And Robert, I would imagine from a coaching perspective, that's just about the perfect start.
Pretty immaculate there. They started off in the 22 and are out to their own 10 metre line. It's penalty to Jed. There's some great carries, especially from Taylor, Fotheringham. Great to see Fotheringham back in the Jed team. He'll make a big difference today. And even Ryan Briggs, he's not too familiar at first level rugby, and this season he seems to have taken to it pretty well. So that's a great start, and a great kick by Lewis Young. And it's the start that Jed really wanted after last week's game against Gala. Yeah, last week's game against Gala, coach Stuart Johnson candidly honest with his assessment of it you'd have heard in his pre-match interview there. So this is going to be Jed's first line out. It's going to be thrown in by Paxton, and that's a good throw right to the middle of Fotheringham. That's going to give Jed a chance to drive it in the 22, the first rumbling maul of the afternoon. Decent stoic enough defence by Highland, and they've managed to drag it to ground, and they've turned it over for good measure, so that'll please their coaches no end. And the box kick comes in, not the best kick in the world. It's allowed to bounce and comes into touch just in front of our vantage point here, the back of the stand, the famous old stand at Riverside. Would it be being biased, Robert, to say that this is probably one of the most picturesque rugby grounds in Scotland? Oh, absolutely. When you see the stand opposite us getting all refurbished and whatnot, we're pretty spoilt down here. It's great on a good day. It's often filled with passionate Jed supporters. So we're spoilt here at Riverside Park. Marshall, another half break by Marshall. He does a strong start to the game. Douglas, good service by Douglas again to Fotheringham. This time he feeds it on to his second row colleague Skeldon, and then again he's over the gain line. Skeldon, Weatherhead feeds it out, and first truck up for Gary Young, and he's offloaded as well. The rugby being played on the far side, and it's been picked up by Briggs. He sets it up, and now it comes back to Skeldon. Skeldon again tips it out, and here comes Fotheringham again. Now he's been well tackled that time round the ankles. Not a man you want to try and take up high. Now it's Gregor Young. Gregor Young takes into contact again. Fluid stuff by Jed. Backs and forwards. Flat pass out to, and now it's the flat pass was out to Ben Howe, and now Jed and up and into the 22 again through Rory Marshall. Another strong carry by Marshall. Douglas, Weatherhead, long pass out to Lewis Young. Lewis Young with a kick pass, and there's men on that far side for Jed. It's all about the bounce of a rugby ball, and it's just bobbled into touch, but again the referee's going to bring them back for a penalty against the men from Inverness. That's a couple of early indiscretions, and again just cohesive stuff by Jed, Robert.
Yeah, and it's great seeing Rory Marshall bumping off the winger opposite him. It's obvious Jed have came with a different game plan here. They seem to be more up the jumper stuff, not as flash and fancy to start with, because they know what Highland can bring in regards to defence, and it's been all Jed so far. And right here again we've got Lewis Young going for the corner again, so obviously they trust their line out. Let's hope it's a lot better than it was last week, because there was a couple of missed opportunities last week against Gala, so let's hope they've got things sorted out for this week, and if it goes well, the line-out's one of our strongest our points in our game, so here we go.
It's thrown in, 5 metre line-out, but not the best.
Talk too soon.
Yeah, curse to the commentator.
Yeah.
Early in the day for you there, Robert. But no, that was it looked like a mix-up. I wouldn't put that all down to the throw-in. Looked like a mix-up with the jumpers, the lifters, the whole shebang, and the penalty's now been conceded by Jed, and that will give Highland the opportunity to exit. Highland had nothing to speak of in terms of possession. So far, all the rugby been played in their own territory as well. So Scott Fraser, 165th appearance for Highland. They've got some experienced campaigners in the ranks this afternoon. Guys on 190, that's Rory McDonald, the stand-in scrum after a Hugo Crush. Incidentally, their captain is injured, so in comes a man to make his 190th appearance. Then of course in the front row you've got the hugely experienced Stephen Murray of Cali Reds fame. He's on 304 no less, and that's quite something, Robin. You're a man with a few appearances.
Yeah, about I think, not that I'm counting, but about 224. So yeah, it speaks huge volumes of a club like Highland to produce guys that have been there for so long, and it just shows you how much it means to guys up there in a kind of remotely isolated area of Scotland, you know. So that's a huge credit to the guys to have held on playing rugby for as long may it continue.
Jed have won the Highland line out that came to the touchline from the penalty, so it's Young to Young, and that's been put down there. The ball's been dropped, but again the referee is going to bring them back for another penalty. Highland already 3 conceded so far. It remains scoreless, around 8 minutes gone. Now this to me looks imminently kickable. Weatherhead's in and around it, but no, here comes Lewis Young by the looks of things. No, he's just going to, referee's bringing it over to the point where the penalty is awarded, makes it a bit less kickable. So it looks like Young has taken control, and he's going to put it back down into the corner where they were a couple of minutes ago when the line out went astray. So the line out, that's a good kick by Lewis Young. That line out's going to be right on the 5 metre line. So Paxton, number 1 on his back, but throwing it in the line out. He'll be looking for the likes of Skeldon, the likes of Fotheringham to get up and secure this possession. Jed looking for something to show for their early dominance, and this time it's been taken in cleanly by Fotheringham, and the drive comes on nice and tight. Rumbling forward now towards the line. Still going. Looks like Paxton in possession, but Highland have just managed to spoil that, a metre or so short of the line, and Jed are going to have to use this or potentially lose it, and it's gone to ground, and the back slaps and the claps on behalf of the Highland players suggest that yes, the scrum has gone their way, and Robert, that's just another opportunity that's gone a bagging.
Yeah, listen, I'm all for the attack and rugby that Jed's trying to show early doors here. They're obviously targeting 5 points here today, but it's very early in the game to be doing that, and that's 2 for me. Any other day, that's 2 tries for Jed, so I don't know if they're not protecting the ball enough when they win the line out or not, but maybe they just need to calm things down a bit here. You know, the first priority here is to get the win, and then I'm pretty sure that the tries will come after that if they keep up this pressure.
So 10 minutes gone here at Riverside. It remains scoreless. Jed Forest 0, Highland 0.
Yes, and it's all happening down at Jed Forest. It's all happening elsewhere as well, because it's Curry 7, Hoyk 0. Ed Hasdell getting a try early on, converted down there at Millennium Park. Glasgow Hawks 10, Kelso 0, a Liam Brims penalty, and they've just scored a try as well. We'll get you the try scorer later on. So that's Glasgow Hawks 10, Kelso 0. Musselburgh 10, Melrose 0. Craig Owenson try early on, converted by his brother Danny, who's also kicked a penalty. And in National 1 at the moment, latest score we have Peebles 0, Boroughmuir 5, Cammy Hogg scoring a try after a clearance kick was charged down. And Newton Stewart 7, Gordonians 5 is a latest score.
Jed had a decent shunt on that first scrum, made it all of a bit of a guddle for the Highland number 8, Owen MacDonald, but they've managed to secure possession, the Highlanders, and they've kicked a touch, and that will result in a Jed line out just outside the 22. As mentioned earlier, Jed looking for something to show early here for their complete dominance, certainly from a territorial point of view so far, and that's been won comfortably at the front by Howe. And here comes Marshall again, and Marshall another 15-20 metre carry, and here comes another breach from Skeldon up towards the line. Is he over the line? Yes, he dots it down. Oh, he must be just shut. No, the referee's finally awarded it. Rory Marshall with the initial thrust, and a big carry by the skipper Clark Skeldon results in the first try of the afternoon.
What a brilliant try there. Great line by Rory Marshall, tied in 2 defenders there. I noticed one of the Highland defenders rushed up after the line out, so maybe that created an opening for Rory, but Rory took it, and then you've got the captain Skeldon taking the ball at 100 miles an hour. He's a very hard man to stop, so that was a great try for Jed. It has been coming, it's been all Jed here, but again, that's one try. There's plenty of time to go in the game to get another free, so Jed just need to play patiently again.
Yeah, very good try from Jed as we wait this Aaron Weatherhead conversion from maybe 6-7 metres to the left of the posts, comfortably inside the 22, so one that you'd expect him to kick. And yeah, just how strong a start to the game as Rory Marshall had.
Oh, he's been phenomenal. He's been off, he's away on holiday all week, so maybe he's had a week to recharge the batteries, keeping clear of the rugby, so he's obviously came back today with full intent to put in a performance, and he's now a stalwart of the club, so you're looking at guys like him to lead by example, and he's proven his worth so far anyways.
He certainly is. 155th appearance in the royal blue jersey for Marshall. A few tries along the way as well, but it was the assist that counted on that occasion. His skipper, the grateful beneficiary. He still had a bit to do, right enough, the big fella, and as Robert said, he hit that at some pace, and it was always going to be a job to stop him, and it was a job that he just couldn't do. But the kick-off has been fumbled by Jed. You possibly heard the groan of the crowd here. It was Ben Howe, the open side flanker, the Kiwi. His father played for Newcastle Falcons and Hoyk back in the day. But Highland now with a scrum right on the Jed 22, their first territory and almost their first possession of any note. 13 minutes in, Jed 7, Highland 0. But Highland with a chance to show what they can do. They've got dangerous runners in the backs, Muratoki and Seamus Ross to name but 2. But their first scrum did retreat a little, but that's a bit more solid. Jed with a slight shunt on, but here come the men from Inverness, and it was Ross. It's passed on to his centre colleague James Blair, still just inside the 22. Now the burly figure of Dylan Monk hits it up the second row. Fraser, he finds his hooker Ollie Smith, Now here come Highland over on that far side. Magnus Henry played for Cali Reds against the South earlier in the year at Inverness. Latest to carry in there is Johnny Milton, but it's been fumbled, and Jed have got free ball here. So Grieve, Owen, Young has come up the middle as he's done so often. He's still going, Young, and he's back inside to Grieve, and Jed are up over the halfway line here. And the penalty's going to come as well, so from 10 metres short of their own line perhaps, it was spilled by Johnny Milton. And Jed have gone, what, Robert Foley, 60 metres?
Yeah, about that. I mean, I thought Highland's first chance there, they looked pretty sturdy there, but we got a good turnover, a good ball steal. I think maybe the pass to Lewis was maybe just slightly forward, but the referee didn't notice, and obviously Lewis made some good yards just before Kyle just spilled it, but they're playing at advantage. So I think this is now a sensible option for Aaron. 15 minutes into the game, maybe just time to get the scoreboard ticking over, and I've seen him kick these ones before, so with a bit of luck, Aaron will put Jed Forest 10-0 up, and pretty much well in control so far.
They certainly have been. It would be a deserved scoreline, you'd have to say. And Weatherhead's going to have a crack at the posts here from just inside his own 10-metre line, fairly central. Young player, graduated from Jed Thistle this season. He's got 5 conversions and 4 penalties so far in his 4 appearances in the Royal Blue. As we await his run up, he's got the ball tilted forward on the tee. He'll be fully 40 metres here. He struck it well enough, certainly high enough. Through the stick she goes, and very confident start by the young man.
Yeah, he needed that, Aaron. Yep, it's a great, to go 10 points up after 15 minutes against the side that's travelled a long distance. It's very encouraging, and it's encouraging just to see the Jed players. They all seem pretty switched on today. So you couldn't ask for a better start, anyways, in regards to having the possession of the ball.
Yeah, and it's a strong looking Jed squad today. The likes of Finn Scott, Lewis Elder and Owen Cranston on the bench, looking to come on and make their mark later in the day. And it's been taken in by Fotheringham again, the kick-off. So Jed 10, Highland 0, around 17 minutes gone. Jed looking to give the ball some air, but that's a pass to nobody in particular, and Lewis Young's had to go back and scoop it up. So Jed in their own 22 here, and there's a counter drive on, a useful one by Highland, but the referees deemed there to be something illegal in there, and there's the first pushing and shoving match of the afternoon. Lewis Young, typically enough, right in amongst it. Him and Seamus Ross exchanging pleasantries. They talk about the Highland hospitality, the Highland welcome, and that was Lewis Young giving the southern equivalent to his opponent on that occasion, and that's 5 penalties racked up by Highland so far in the first 17 minutes of this game. So that's something that will need to change as far as they're concerned. In fact, a yellow card has been awarded, so Jed going to be the beneficiaries of an extra man for the next 10 minutes. It is indeed Seamus Ross that's come to the touchline, and Robert, that was obviously for the counter drive, and it looked okay from here, but the referee's right next to it, of course.
Yeah, I mean, these are very hard to judge. I personally thought he went head first, but that's maybe me being a little biased. But at the end of the day, there's no tolerance for head-on-head collisions, so I think it was a right call. And regarding in mind that the 12 is a back where we are at strongest, I know that this is going to be a hard 10 minutes for Highland to keep Jed off the scoreboard. So it's, as you say, it's Highland's ill discipline the last 18 minutes. That's a lot of penalties to concede, and if they carry this on, Jed will capitalise on this one.
Yeah, they will, and they'll be looking to capitalise certainly in the next 9.5 minutes. They did try to break and put that extra man to good use, but they fumbled it over on the far side while in Highland territory, so it's going to be a Highland scrum. 5 metres in from the far side, just in front of the newly refurbed wee stand, as it's affectionately known here. Looks like the boys have done a good job as well, I have to say. Lick of paint, some new advertising boards, and the wee stand being brought back to life as we await the front rows coming together. It's a Burley front row for Jed this afternoon. Hugely experienced Grant Paxton. Ryan Briggs is a big old lump of a boy, as is the aforementioned Jack Taylor from New Zealand. That's a solid enough Highland scrum. And it's fed out to Fraser. So Highland looking to go from deep here. And it's been hoofed down the park, but underneath that is Lewis Young. Lewis Young comes back inside and he's beat the first 2 or 3 men. He was tackled eventually and he's been scragged by Muratoki, his opposite number. But Jed have got numbers over on this near side. And it's Shiragib to Marshall. Marshall tight to the touchline, had to come back inside and it's been fumbled again. So is there a sense, Robert, that Jed have just tried to force it ever since they went a man up?
Yeah, I think so. They're obviously, as I said before, the 12 being off, the backline's been our strength, but I don't know what the Highland 10 was playing it there, kicking directly to Lewis Young and having that space there, because 9 times out of 10 Lewis Young's going to beat you and at least make yards. So I don't know what he was thinking there, but I think that again, that was another letter for Highland with just a slightly forward pass through there from Marshall. So Highland will look to try and stabilise his scrum, which looks like it's just slightly creaking a little bit, but I wouldn't be playing all my rugby in this half, that's for sure, if I was Highland.
So as we await this scrum here at Riverside, 20 minutes gone, it's Jed Forest 10, Highland 0.
Latest scores: Curry 12, Hoyk 5. Couple of tries for Curry, Ed Hasdell and Hasdell, should I say, and Ryan Stewart. But Hoyk have just got one back. We're waiting on the confirmation of the scorer there. Glasgow Hawks 10, Kelso 7. We heard Kyle Shanahan was the try scorer for Hawks earlier on. Bruce McNeil just got one back. At the age of 41, he's still going strong and still scoring tries. One of the top scorers this season. So Glasgow Hawks 10, Kelso 7. That match being played at Balgray. Heriots 0, Mar 7. Aidan Cross, former Melrose player, scored the try for Mar. And Musselburgh 10, Melrose 13. Melrose were 10-0 down. Craig Owenson getting the try. Danny Owenson kicking the conversion, getting a penalty. Since then, a couple of Kieran Clark penalties. And another try, or first try for Melrose, puts them in front at Stonyhill 13 points to 10. And Selkirk are ahead against Ayr. Selkirk 7, Ayr 5. Amina Cascow got the first try for Ayr, but Callum Anderson has just gone over, and that was converted by Hugo Alderson. So Selkirk in the lead after 20 minutes. Selkirk against Ayr at Philip Hawke. In National 1, it's Dundee 0, Gala 5. Glasgow Ackie 7, Biggar 5. Jed Forest 10, Highland 0. Our commentary game back there in a second. Peebles 0, Boroughmuir 5. A Cammy Hogg try for Boroughmuir. And in National 2, it's Newton Stewart with their third try now. Newton Stewart 21, Gordonians 5. That's the latest here. Let's go back to Riverside Park.
And we await what will be a Highland scrum on the Jed 10 metre line, because Jed again just tried to force it, and there was a forward pass in there to the onrushing Clark Skeldon, so the referees pulled them back. Still Jed 10, Highland 0. Highland number 12, Seamus Ross, currently in the bin. He's prowling the touchline at the moment, deep in conversation with the head coach, Davy Carson. Long bus journey down here for Highland, of course, today. They were here in plenty of time, here around 1 o'clock, as we just await the front rows coming together. Muratoki's up from fullback here and looking interested. He's got Dan Corr for company on this near side. It's a more solid Highland scrum, and it's been picked up at the base by Owen McDonald. Now it's with Muratoki looking to deploy that footwork. He's well shackled, however, by the Jed defence. So Rory McDonald gives it to Dylan Monk. 8th appearance for Highland this afternoon. Fraser. That's been fumbled again in the midfield by Highland, and Robert, both sides, it's just all become a wee bit error-strewn.
It has, yeah. I think, and again, I'm going back to Jed. They're playing with an extra man, and they're not playing the phases that they were to start the game, and breaking down the Highland defence. Highland seems to be getting more ball there, but again, they seem to have very few options so far, and the errors are starting to creep in already. But that was just to pick that up. That was a great tackle there for Aaron Weatherhead in the midfield on the actual prop for him to force an error, so that'll give him a boost in confidence. So yeah, be interested to see what Jed are going to do here with the split in the back line. I'd like to think they'd go attack the blind side and give Lewis another run out, and they've got obviously Mark Glenn, who's a key addition back to the Jed side, looking to see what he can do when he's going at a full pace.
Yeah, Mark Glenn back at Jed after what you'd call a brief sojourn up the road at Mansfield Park. 2-3 weeks. Decided it wasn't for him, and he's come back to Jed, and that's a very handy reacquisition as far as Jed Forest are concerned. Referees had to reset this scrum, so we'll wait the put in from Robbie Douglas, another decent addition down here at Riverside. It's been picked up by Gary Young to Douglas. Douglas has a snipe, comes back inside to Young, back to Douglas. They've made 10-15 metres Jed now, and they're up to halfway, but the penalty's been conceded. That's their second of the afternoon, right over on that far side on halfway for holding on. And on comes Seamus Ross. He returns to the fray after his 10 minutes in the cooler, so that 10 minutes has not yielded anything from a points or really a possession or territory perspective for Jed. The possession they've had, they've coughed up with errors. So Highland back to the full complement, and that's been kicked down at an acute angle by Scott Fraser into the Jed 22, so that's a decent nudge, and this will give Highland an attacking platform as they look to establish more of a foothold in this Arnold Clark National 1 fixture. Jed 1 win from 2 games, Highland yet to register a W, only 1 bonus point, but that was for scoring 4 tries against Stirling, no less, and that line out doesn't come to anything. Dummy throwing and jumping and lifting, but all a bit shambolic, so it's going to be retaken. Ollie Smith, the mulleted hooker. We seldom see a game now without a reasonable mullet, and it's him this afternoon that's sporting one, and that's a decent throw, and he's found McDonald in the middle, so now they're going to try and rumble it here, Highland, and it's moving. It's made 2 or 3 metres, and they're still in possession, and the hooker is at the tiller. This one, it's still starting to trundle, continuing to trundle forward rather, but they're going to give the backs a crack here, and it comes out to the man that's just back from the sin bin. He fires on to Magnus Henry, who is a big winger, I can tell you that. Cali Reds representative earlier in this year, and that's good footwork deployed by James Blair, the other centre. But Jed comfortable enough in defence as it stands at the moment. The second row's in unison there, still in possession, and a grubber's been put through, and that's one for the winger to chase, and Robbie Shearer Gibbs going to have to police this one. Police it he does, and that's going to result in a Jed drop out from behind their own line. 27 minutes gone now, it remains Jed 10, Highland 0.
Let's quickly go to Philiphaugh. Sam Matthews.
Yes, the score is currently 7 points to 5 to Selkirk, the home side. Grant Anderson, the head coach of Ayr, said he wasn't happy with some aspects of his 82-0 win last week. He'll be furious as to how this game started after taking a 5-point lead and letting the home side back into it quite easily through ill discipline and kicks to touch. Callum Anderson getting the score for the home side to put them in front. It started off well for Ayr when they got a try through Amina Kakusau after 5 minutes with a great switchback play and some bouncing off tackles from the centres, put him in at the corner. But as I mentioned, the ill discipline is slowly creeping into Ayer's game. They'll be looking to rectify that as quickly as they can, and Selkirk now feel like they do have a strong handle on this tie. Score currently Selkirk 7, Ayr 5.
Back here at Riverside Park, Jed 10, Highland 0. Jed have conceded another penalty, 5-6 metres inside their own 10 metre line. As a reminder, Highland attacking the bottom end, the car park end here at Riverside. Now this would be kickable. Scott Fraser currently having a bit of a tete-a-tete with the referee, and it looks like he is going to go for the corner. Made a decent fist of his last punt to touch, and this is again from a semi-acute angle, and he's gone 12-13 metres from the try line, so this will give Highland another opportunity. Their last line out did yield 5-6 metres on the drive, so it'll be Ollie Smith again for Highland, looking for his jumpers in the middle, and again it goes to McDonald, and that's palmed off the top right on the fingertips of McDonald, and is back with Ross in the centre. Dancing feet by Ross, and he beats the first man, but hauled down by Gary Young. But Highland just starting to creep more back into this game now, and here comes the number 8 on the rampage, Owen McDonald. He's had a strong enough start to this game. Counter ruck in from Jed there though, and they're trying to hook it back with the feet, but it's Highland have managed to maintain it, and the hugely experienced figure of Stephen Murray is the latest Burley operator to trundle up. But Jed have stolen that, they've got over it, and they've won possession back, and it's back to Lewis Young. And he's kicked it down to halfway where he finds Muratoki. Now here comes the Fijian soldier. Tries to show the footwork. On, he's still going, Muratoki. He's beaten a couple of men. He's looking for support on the inside, but he presents it well. There's a hooker, Ollie Smith, playing scrum half there, and the space is just starting to open up for Highland, and there's a charge on from Dylan Monk. Another who's growing into this game. They've got numbers on the far side. Highland, Dan Korsover looking for work off his wing, and the referees deemed it a be forward pass, and you can see the frustration on the Highland coaches, the Highland subs. But as I said, Robert, Highland just starting to come into this game now.
Yeah, it seems as though that's all they needed. There's a bit of spark from the Highland fullback there. Took about five attempted tackles to bring him down, and then they had their number 5 taking the ball charging. Luckily for Jed that they had Briggs and Young back there to make the tackle, but that's a lot more positive play there from Highland. I think Jed could maybe consider themselves slightly lucky that Highland could have potentially been in for a score there had Aaron Weatherhead been on side, but I think Highland's just looking to slow things down and realise that they're only 10 points down here after half an hour, so they're looking to get points on the board and see what they can bring after that.
Yeah, and what's actually happened here, there was a forward pass in there by Highland as they were in attack mode, but they were playing with a free ball. Referees penalised Jed, the 4th penalty conceded so far, bang in front of the sticks, so this should be meat and drink. To Scott Fraser, the Highland standoff just begins his run up, gives it a little shuffle, puts his foot through it, and over the bar she sails. So Highland take the duck egg off. They are on the board. Jed Forrest 10, Highland 3, and yeah, good first 20 minutes for Jed, Robert. But Highland are, it's almost like they found their legs, having got off the bus.
Yeah, and speaking of legs, they're bringing on their number 23, who's got big legs. So I can only imagine he'll only be here for one job, and that's to scrum. So yeah, Jed just have to stop panicking as much. Stop looking to score every time they get the ball. Get the phases in like they started off with, with the carriers like Fotheringham and Skeldon, and I'm pretty sure they can break Highland open again. But yeah, it's good to see Highland actually getting back into the game here, and looks like they can, when they get the ball and they get the ball in the right positions, that they can actually carry on a threat, So it's been a good game so far.
It has. And number 23 is Patrick Ratumasisi, another Fijian in the ranks, and as Robert said, he's a big lad. And speaking of Fijians, Adriu Muratoki, as is the new law this season, has marked the restart, and he's punted it to touch, and that's a decent nudge as well. He sent that from 10 metres inside his own 22 to nigh on halfway. So it's going to be a Jed line out. It'll be thrown in once again by Grant Paxton, right in front of us here. Riverside Park. Temper just starting to dip a little here, but it still remains a calm and dry afternoon, albeit overcast, and that's taken in the middle by Skeldon. Jed hitting up, that's a strong carry by Kyle Grieve. Ian Hurd was waxing lyrical about him pre-game, saying he always bumps off the first man, and that's exactly what happened there. And Robbie Douglas is at the base of this latest ruck. That's Ben Howe rather, and they've turned it over Highland, so right on halfway they're going to have a chance to counter here. Muratoki has come up into the line and fumbled it, and it's only gone as far as Gary Young. So Jed now back in possession. Skeldon playing scrum half out to Briggs. Briggs beats the first couple of men, and he's hauled back by Ratumasisi. A good carry there by Briggs. Now Weatherhead, dancing feet, beats a couple of players, then he's brought to ground. Douglas taking his time, looking for Skeldon again. Skeldon again out the back door to Rory Marshall. Rory Marshall's hit hard that time. by the substitute prop. Once again, he's put himself about in the last couple of minutes, and the referee again has penalised Highland. So 6 penalty conceded so far, and it's been tapped quickly by Fotheringham up towards the 22, still going, hauled down now just short of that white line. Weatherhead again to Skeldon. Skeldon's got Paxton for company, but Dummiesen goes, hauled down again just on the 22. Jed still in possession. Weatherhead to Grieve, and again he's beat the first man, and that's slick hands. And here's Gregor Young, and Gregor Young goes to Shearer Gibb. He comes back in safety of the 5 metre line. He was tight to the touchline, and Paxton now the latest to trundle it up as Jed inch towards the Highland line. Slowly but surely, they're maybe 10 minutes shy of it now, and it's out to Weatherhead again, and that's a slag pass, and it's picked up off the bootstraps. Jed are almost in here, up in the corner. It's been flung back, and it's gone forward. And the referee, has he awarded a penalty over on that far side? No, it's almost like he's blown for half time, Robert. He certainly gave he gave the sort of what you'd class as the international signal of half time, but it can't be half time. No, it's there's only 35 minutes on the clock.
There's maybe been a mix up for the sideline, the touch judge. I'm not very sure about that one, but anyways, I think it looked like it was a slight knock on for Ben Fotheringham there, so I think Highland. Highland scrum.
It's a Highland scrum. Confusion reigns here at Riverside.
I think Highland can count themselves lucky there again, so that's another missed opportunity.
I was going to say it's much a missed opportunity from Jed, who scored early in this game, got the first try of the afternoon through the captain, Clark Skeldon. But it's a Highland scrum, 5 or 6 metres from their own line, right over on the roadside corner. But free kick's been awarded to Jed in all that, so here they come again, the home side, and there's a rumble on, and the try has been awarded. It was trucked up in there. I'm pretty sure that's Ben Fotheringham. Oh no, it's the captain once again. He's brought up the brace. Captain's not Clark Skeldon. And yeah, Robert, that's exactly what Jed were looking for, given the amount of possession that they've had in this first half. That second try.
Yeah, that's great for Clark Skeldon. That's glimpses of Bijan Robinson, his favourite player for the Atlanta Falcons, just trucking it up there, and that's what you need. And again, that was Highland's lost opportunity to clear the lines again. So it's that's very encouraging to be 15 points to 3, potentially 17 points to 3 up at this stage of the game. I just feel like Highland are rushing up in ones, and their defence seems very disorganised, but in attack, they have got something, but they're going to have to find something pretty quickly, or this game could quickly run away for them.
Certainly 15 points to 3, kick to come. The Weatherhead conversion has gone through the uprights, so all of a sudden it's Jed 17, Highland 3. There's daylight between the teams with around 3 minutes of this half remaining.
So let's quickly have a quick look at the latest scores we have for you. Curry 22, Hoyk 12. Hoyk getting 2 tries back after Kurt Johnston went in for a try for Curry. Andrew Mitchell getting on the scoreboard for, I think, the first time this season. Glasgow Hawks 20, Kelso 14. Heriots 0, Mar 14 is an interesting one. We'll hear from Hugh Brown at half-time about that one. Musselburgh 13, Melrose 13 is the latest score, and still Selkirk 7, Ayr 5. So the big guns, Ayr and Heriots behind at this stage. National 1, Dundee 7, Gala 5, Glasgow Accies 7, Biggar 5, Jed Forest 17, Highland 3 as we've just heard, and Peebles taking the lead. Matty Carrier going over for a try, and that's 14 points to 10 now for Peebles. In National 2, Newton Stewart 35, Gordonians 15. This is Gordonians who of course beat Lass Wade last week quite convincingly, so an interesting situation down there. And it's currently GHA 34, Stirling 7. How about that, Robin?
My word, almost flabbergasted at that, Stuart, as you can probably tell. And yeah, I'm giving up on predictions from this point henceforth. That is an absolutely unbelievable score at this stage of the game, and while you've been bringing us up to speed with what's happening around the grounds, there's been no further score here. It's still Jed 17, Highland 3. Jed with a pretty healthy lead now, befitting of their territory and possession in this game as we approach half time, and there's been a fumble by Jed, and that is going to result in a Highland scrum. We await the put in from Rory MacDonald. On Highland on their own 10 metre line here, maybe 7-8 metres in from the stand. Jed again just trying to get a nudge on, but solidified in the end by Highland, so they've got one last chance, you feel, to attack in this first half. Bit of a slack pass picked up off the bootstraps by Seamus Ross, but it's been opened up on the far side for Highland, and they're going to be in here. What a run! Cover tackler coming across, but Highland have scored a try through their gargantuan winger Magnus Henry by the looks of things. Is the referee going to award it? Was there a foot in touch? No, the try's been awarded, Robert, and absolutely what Highland would have wanted before half time, but let's be honest, the last thing that Jed needed.
Wow, that was basically came from nothing. It was pretty slow hands there from the Highland backline, and all of a sudden,
wasn't it just?
Yeah, big Magnus, as you say, he's a big ball carrier. He got round outside of Mark Glenn and then Lewis, and Robbie Shiragib, as hard as he tried to make that tackle into touch, just couldn't stop the big fella from scoring there. And what, in my opinion, is the ideal time, if any time, to score a try going into half time there. They needed that. But I don't know if Jed were up quick enough in defence there. They just allowed Highland to do what they needed to do in the back line. But that's maybe something to talk about with Stuart and Ryan at half time with the boys, just not to panic as such. You know, they're 17-8 here, 17-10 potentially. It's still Jed's game in my opinion. But yeah, what a way to finish the half for Highland.
Certainly, given the half-time team talks, a completely different complexion for both coaches. Fraser struck that touchline conversion pretty well, but is drifted just to the right of the uprights, and that is indeed half-time. All of a sudden we've got our game in our hands, and I can see Stuart Johnson head straight from the tunnel with a shake of the head as well, so he didn't enjoy what he's seen in the last 30 seconds of that half. And I think, Robert, you kind of touched upon it there. Highland were allowed to do what they wanted in the back line there. Looked like there was nothing on in it. You have to say it was pedestrian by Jed.
Oh, absolutely. That's very unusual of Jed. I thought they'd be wanting to press up there, especially going to half time, but it was just slow hands. Over a slight spell there, it just went backwards, and then it just looked like Magnus looked in front of him and he had a free rein basically for the try line. So I'd be questioning that. Certainly at half time, what happened there, was there a breakdown in communication between Mark and Lewis? I'm not so sure, but you know, the tackle should have been made well before Shira Gibb attempted the tackle in the corner. But that's maybe a wake-up call that Jed needed. You know, in my opinion, they've had the vast majority of possession there that whole half. 17-8 at half time. You know, that they should be happy that at least they're in the lead there, but there is still things to work on, and I still think they need to slow the game down a bit. You know, there's still 40 minutes to go. They're looking for a bonus point try here, and I believe if they do play the phases and just slow the game down, I think they will eventually break down this Highland team.
So we've got a game on our hands here at Riverside in Arnold Clark National 1. 2 tries for Jed. Clark Skeldon with them both, but that last minute of the half riposte by the big winger Magnus Henry sees the scoreline at half time: Jed Forest 17, Highland 8.
This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whiskey making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
With over 30 years' experience in print and embroidery, BE Uniforms are one of Scotland's leading rugby teamwear specialists. We currently supply many great clubs across Scotland and the north of England, offering brands such as Adidas, Macron, Canterbury and BE Sport. We have a specialist teamwear team who collectively have over 60 years' experience in the trade, delivering quality teamwear and finding solutions to the challenges out there. If your club is looking for a new supplier and would like to know more, get all the details at beuniforms.co.uk. Proud sponsors of Rugby Radio and Borders Rugby TV. BE Uniforms, your identity is our purpose.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio.
3:45 on a Saturday afternoon. As I mentioned earlier, there was a match played last night in the Premiership under the lights at Marside. It resulted in a win for Watsonians by 45 points to 5 over Edinburgh Accies. Let's hear the thoughts now of Watsonians co-captain Neil Irvin Hess.
Pretty pleased with the result last night. Obviously, anytime you put 45 points past a team, you're always pleased with the result, but especially against an Edinburgh rival. Obviously, Accies is always good to sort of do one over on them, and especially, strong performance, but we still feel like we left a little bit out there, which is always pleasing, for weeks moving forward. But yeah, great result, and but obviously only 4 weeks into a 20 odd game season, so there's still a lot of rugby to be played, but definitely positive signs from us moving forward. In terms of the season, how it's gone, obviously sort of naturally gone from strength to strength if you base it on results. But like I said, it's still a long season ahead. Obviously, the first couple of weeks, naturally with sort of dropping down from Super 6 and coming up from that one, there's always going to be a bit of teething issues, with essentially bringing two teams together. So it's always going to take a bit of time, new coaching staff as well. So yeah, like I say, pre-season was getting used to each other, first couple of games, getting used to one another. So it's good to see a bit of cohesion now starting to form, but like I said, it's still early days and we still got a long road ahead of us.
Big match at Marside last night, 45-5 to Watsonians. Latest scores we have: Curry 29, Hawick 12, not half-time yet on that one. Glasgow Hawks 20, Kelso 19 is a half-time scoreline. Heriots 5, Mar 14. We'll be crossing to Golden Acre to get an update from Hugh Brown very, very shortly. Musselburgh 13, Melrose 13, and the last we heard it was Selkirk 7, Ayr 5. Again, we'll have Sam Matthews at half-time to talk about that one. In National 1, Dundee versus Gala. Current score 7-5 to Dundee. It's half-time at Braidholme. Amazing result at the moment. GHA 39, Stirling County 7. Glasgow Accies 7, Biggar 5 is the latest score. As we heard at half-time, it's Jed Forest 17, Highland 8 in National 1, and Peebles 14, Boroughmuir 10 is a latest score. In National 2, last night's result, Kirkcaldy 37, Stewart's Melville 35. It's half-time at Lasswade 0, GHK 10, Newton Stewart 35, Gordonians 22 is a latest score, and we'll give you all the updates very shortly. Now we've got a guest appearance coming up right now because it's half-time at Stony Hill. Musselburgh 13, Melrose 13. It's Luke Townsend.
A tense first half at Stony Hill has ended with the scores at 13 all. Musselburgh started the better, with Craig Owenson getting over the line and Danny Owenson converting. They kept the early pressure on with a penalty to go 10-0 up after around 10 minutes. Then Melrose came into the half with some pressure and added to the scoreboard with 2 penalties through Kieran Clark to make it 10-6. They continued this pressure from a loose pass by Musselburgh that Corey Goldsborough got onto the end of and dived over in front of the posts, making it 13-10. Musselburgh came back into the half to make it 13-all at half-time. Hopefully there'll be some more rugby and better rugby in the second half. However, it's going to be a close game.
There we are. That's Luke Townsend making a guest appearance at half-time there down at Stony Hill. It was Donald Crawford at the preview, and we'll get someone else probably at full-time. Who knows? But let's go to Philiphaugh. They're a bit behind the time there at the moment, and bring in Sam Matthews.
Half-time at Philiphaugh, and it is the home side that goes into the sheds with the lead. The score currently 7 points to 5. Ayr opened up the scoring with a try through Amina Kakasau. He scored off a great sweep back move off 2 phases of play, and his outside centre taking off 2 tackles, passing him in and putting him in the corner. Conversion was unfortunately missed for them by Richie Simpson, and that proved to be pivotal in this first half, as after some ill discipline from the away side, Selkirk managed to march their way up the pitch, consistently kicking for touch, strategically going with pick and goes, and then at the end from 10 yards out they used the penalty advantage, threw it out the back. Callum Anderson diving on the loose ball to get the first 5 points of the afternoon for the home side. Young Hugo Alderson then converted that with the extra 2, and that's kept them in front since then. On the verge of half time though, Ayr did show what they're capable of. 2 large runs from Jamie Shedden got them about 30 metres each time, which was defended with last grasp, and then you could see on that Selkirk team's face they were happy to just punt the ball out from the penalty that they managed to conjure up right at the end of the game. Really interesting tie here, and a great one for the neutrals. Score currently sits at Philiphaugh, Selkirk 7, Ayr 5.
Let's go to Golden Acre. Heriots against Mar. Hugh Brown.
Mar struck first when a block clearance kick was captured by winger Aidan Cross, who stormed under the post for an opportunist try. Then on the half hour, a breakaway score for the visitors against the runner play by Scott McDonald increased their lead. Then just before the break, Heriots did get points on the board with a well-worked try by Angus Hunter. But Heriots are going to have to work extremely hard to maintain their unbeaten run. Half-time here at Golden Acre, Heriots 5, Mar 14.
So just to quickly recap, Curry 29, Hawick 12 in the Premiership, Glasgow Hawks 20, Kelso 19, Heriots 5, Mar 14, Musselburgh 13, Melrose 13 and Selkirk 7, Ayr 5. Yes, it's the division that keeps giving, no doubt about that. National 1, Dundee 14, Gala 5, GHA 39, Stirling County 7. What odds would you have got on that one? Mind you, it is only half-time and Stirling have a good second half apparently. Glasgow Accies 7, Biggar 5, Jed Forest 17, Highland 8 and Peebles in front at the Guides 14, Boroughmuir 10. In National 2, last night's result, Kirkcaldy 37, Stewart's Melville 35. It's Lasswade 0, GHK 10 at half-time, Newton Stewart 35, Gordonians 22 at half-time and Preston Lodge 12, Berwick 6. Riverside Park, it's Robert Hogg and it's also Robin Purdy.
And you rejoin us in the second half with Highland very much in the ascendancy and just right on cue. They've scored a try, so they scored right on the stroke of half-time and they've scored just after half-time, and it's the Fijian fullback Adru Muratoki with the touchdown. And I don't know what might have been said in the sheds at half-time from a Jed perspective, Robert, but it doesn't appear to have worked.
No, Muratoki from the start, Muratoki from the finish there, that was very impressive from the Fijian. From start to finish, he made a couple of line breaks and the offloading. You know, he done one offload to Magnus Henry, and Henry just took it back into the Jed defence, and I think it was deservedly a try for Highland there. It's they came out with the intent to start how they finished basically. So something else for Jed to think about there. Touchline conversion here, I'm not so sure if he can get this one, but we'll see. Game on.
Game on indeed. Scott Fraser, it will be already a penalty to his name this afternoon. Missed the first conversion. Can he make amends with this one? He's 4 metres in from the touchline, the near touchline here from the Riverside stand. It looks like he struck it pretty well and it's just drifted to the right of the uprights. There wasn't much in it, so it remains Jed 17, Highland 13, and if we thought we had a game on our hands at half time, we've certainly got that now. 2 quick fire tries, essentially 2 tries in 2 or 3 minutes for Highland, and Weatherhead's gone deep with the kick-off right to the scrum half, who's returned it with interest, and that's been allowed to bounce by Gary Young. He comes back and picks it up now. It's been fumbled by Jed. It was Lewis Young, and there's a bit of pushing and shoving in there, a bit of winding up going on by Owen Wemyss, the Highland open side. Poor play by Jed. you have to say. It wasn't the most sympathetic pass from the number 8, Gary Young, to Lewis Young, but it potentially still should have been taken, so it's going to be a Highland scrum, dead centre field on the Jed 22, and my word, from that deep kick-off from Weatherhead, Robert, Jed have conceded cheap territory there.
Yeah, and again, when Highland 9 kicked directly to the back, I thought Gary Young's at least going to try and carry up here. Not so renowned for the left-hand passing, but I honestly thought Gary was going to crash that up there. Not sure if Sheera Gibb was very aware if he was getting the ball there, but it's a scrum on the 22 in the middle to Highland here. Interesting to see what they go, if they go blind to Muritoki, and he's coming round now.
Here he comes, and he's in possession. Muritoki, he's certainly grown at this game. He's created space here for his winger, Magnus Henry. Highland causing Jed all kinds of problems on this near side, and here comes a big carry, and it's a strong carry at that from Rory Mighton, and they're calling for a high challenge, and the referee is going to oblige. So there's a kick pass on here over on the far side, and it's been taken. Jed need to be careful not to take the man in the air. Has it been knocked backwards? The referee's playing on, so Highland, no, they've been bundled into touch, so the referee's going to bring them back for the high shot, and penalties just starting to rack up against Jed here now. The referee's touching his shorts. Oh, and he's gone into the pocket, and somebody's going to take 10 for Jed, so it goes from bad to worse at the moment for the home side. Now who's going to come to the touchline? It looks like Ben Fotheringham. And Robert, yeah, as I mentioned, it's just nothing going right for Jed at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, again, we were talking about Muritoki in the first half. He kind of was out the game, and all of a sudden he's in. He's producing some unbelievable offloads, and it seems to have sparked Highland. And is this Jed's not very sure how to defend him? I'm not so sure. He seems to be given a lot of space. Bearing in mind he is the key attack right now, so, and I think Ben was pretty unfortunate with that one. I think the guy kind of ducked into the challenge there, so, and Ben's a big man naturally anyway, so, but he'll spend 10 minutes, he'll reassess, and I have no doubt he'll come back on looking to get a spark back in the Jed side.
Well, he's cutting a forlorn figure, sat on his jack on the Jed bench at the moment as we await this 5 metre Highland line out to be thrown in by Ollie Smith, who's been busy around the park, the hooker, this afternoon, so looking to ram home the ascendancy they've had in the last 10 minutes of this game, pre and post half time, and they're moving forward here at a rate of knots. 2-3 metres short, and they're over for the try. We spoke about him in the first half on his 304th appearance, no less, in a Highland jersey. It's Stephen Murray, and Robert, we spoke off air about how well put together he looks, and he was never going to be stopped from the charge there.
Yeah, it was a very well try there. He wasn't getting stopped for there. It was a good move. It was obviously a planned move. So yeah, again saying that, it just looks like Highland have just came out a different side here, and they're obviously sticking to what they're good at, which perhaps they tried to play kind of the same game as Jed the first half. It didn't work for them, so they've gone back to what they're used to, and 18-17 up, and again another kickable conversion here. Looks like Jed's bringing on Finlay, so yeah, it's Jed are a man down here for 10 minutes, so what's Jed's plan B here? How do they sort it out and get the ball back and keep it? I still firmly believe they need to slow it down and build up the phases, break down the Highland defence, because it was very, very vulnerable the first 10 minutes, and this is what Jed need to do if they want to stay in this game.
As we await the conversion, Scott Fraser missed kicks, tricky enough kicks, the kicks he's missed, to be absolutely fair. They're kind of maybe keeping Jed in the game at the moment, but that's certainly heading, no, it's drifted to the left, and that one was a bit more kickable, so that's a wee bit of a let off for Jed. They're still only a point behind. 3 tries now for the men from Inverness. Stephen Murray, the latest to crash over on Robert's right. Jed have a man in the bin for the next 9 minutes or so. That's Ben Fotheringham, and another of Jed's big carriers has come off as well. Gary Young, who passed a late fitness test, meant the man to my right didn't get drafted in at the last moment, but on for him has come Finn Scott. So Jed bringing on one of the top operators around this place. They're looking for a big impact from him, and they just need to steady the ship a wee bit. Jed It's been kicked off and Highland have sent it back to touch, so it's going to be a Jed line out. Jed attacking the bottom end in this second half, and this is their first possession of any note, and that's gone to Skeldon in the middle. So here comes Marshall. He was prominent in the first half, and now Gregor Young has bounced off the first chance. He looks for support, and it's gone back the way of Highland. So scrappy from Jed there, and it's Muratoki, but scrappy from Highland as well, and there's players all over him. He takes it to ground, and Jed are going to try and counter this, but it's been made, or it's came back on the Highland side, and there's a Highland player down in the middle of the park, and Finn Scott's trying to get involved early on. He tried to get over that ball and jackal it. The referee stopped the game. There's a Highland player in a wee bit of discomfort at the moment, but yeah, what did Jed need to do here, Robert? They're a man down obviously for the next 7 minutes or so. They're in their first territory of any kind in this second half. What's the game plan here?
Go back to playing to their strengths, it's just gotten frantic, and more so losing Gary Young. Gary's been a breath of fresh air. The coming back for the Southern Knights, that's going to be a huge loss to Jed. But yeah, go with how we went in the first 10 minutes. Get the big ball carriers, your Taylors and Skeldons, get the guys to crash up, create spaces for our guys out in the backs. Lewis Young, Gregor Young, Robbie Shearer-Gibb, these guys are game changers, and it's just ever since midway through the first half, it's like we've switched what we're doing tactically, and Highlands just grasp it. So yeah, they're in a great position here. Yep, and they've got a back split, so I'd be looking for a quick ball off the back of the scrum from Finn Scott to Lewis Young. Give Lewis Young a go, or at least give Mark Glenn a go, and he will try and beat a man one-on-one.
So the Jed scrum, it's right on halfway, just off centre field, slightly towards this near side, be fed by Robbie Douglas. Jed scrum, a man down, so it's 8v7 in there, and the prop on the near side for Highland has dropped the knee, so the referee's going to reset this. Finn Scott does look like he's going to slot in at number 8 for the departed Gary Young, as Robert mentioned, back at the club after a season or two at the higher level before Super Rugby was disbanded. Referee's got them reset. Nobody appears to be in any particular hurry. This will suit Jed actually, because they're a man down at the moment, and the referee's going to have to reset this again. Unfortunately, is this a facet of the game in general, Robert, that needs looked at? I mean, that's what at least 2 minutes here on this particular one scrum.
Yeah, it definitely plays a huge part of the game now, as well as the lineouts. It needs looked at, because it can win or lose you a game. And as you said, this is actually going in Jed's favour, being a man down in the scrum. So Highland need to actually watch what they're doing here.
So take 3. Douglas feeds it. Highland get the shunt on, as you'd probably expect against 7 men, and that's a loose pass by Finn Scott, and it's going to be Lewis Young to go back, and he's going to have to come away from the touchline. Young, he's got his feet in the air. They're over the line but in the air, so that's fine. Douglas is caught in there, so Skeldon is that plays scrum after Howe. Howe's taken a couple of Highland men to bring him down, and here comes Paxton, the latest Jed player, and that's a decent carry from the big prop. Douglas at the base of it, out to blindside flanker Kyle Grieve, and again he shunts off the first man and makes another metre or two. It's out to nobody. Rory Marshall eventually gets it, and Marshall looks to offload, and that's loose out the back door from Jed, but they're going to maintain possession, but not doing all that much with it at the moment. Gregor Young's tidying it up. Got a stag do in a couple of weeks, Gregor Young. And half break on there by Finn Scott. That's better from Jed. Pick and go. Buys another metre or so. And they've got numbers on this near side, Jed. It's out to Weatherall. To Marshall. Marshall cuts back against the grain and straightens. And again, he's beaten a couple of defenders. Strong play from Marshall, akin to what he did in the first half. Now Skeldon drops the shoulder and goes, and he's up and into the 22, and it takes another couple of Highland players to pull him to deck. Weatherall again. Jed just starting to put the phases together now, and Marshall again goes headlong into the defence. still in possession here. Weatherall, wee bit of crossing in there, and the referee's going to bring them back, but it's going to be a penalty to Jed right in front. Absolutely kickable. So Robert, I know what I'd do here, but what about yourself?
Yep, 3 points for me, absolutely. You're a man down, let's just keep the scoreboard ticking over. That was actually some pretty great play. That's back to what we talked about the first 10 minutes. Jed guys just carrying hard. Marshall, Skeldon, Taylor looking for work, and look where it's got them. You know, they've just broke them down slowly, but it's proved worthy. So it's a 3-pointer here for Aaron Weatherhead.
Yeah, he's 15 metres maybe bang it back from the Highland try line, absolutely bang in front. So barring something completely unforeseen, this will nudge Jed back in the lead. The youngster takes a deep breath, begins the run up. Over she goes, so that takes Jed out to 20 points. Highland 18, and yeah, Robert, what it does as well is it just eats up the sin bin clock.
Yeah, absolutely. That was smart play from Jed there, but they're no out the trouble yet here. They need to secure the kick-off, get a couple of phases again, slow the clock down, kick it back. So let's see what their back three can do. Bearing in mind you've still got Muratoki here, but he could tire pretty quickly. He seems to be taking a lot of deep breaths there. So let's just let them play the rugby. We'll kick it, and then with a bit of luck, Ben will be on in no time.
Now that's not going into 22, the kick-off, so not able to be marked as per the new rules. And there's a Highland player in over that jackling, but Finn Scott is going to see to it that it comes back. Kyle Grieve, this time he doesn't beat. He does eventually bounce off the first man after being driven back a metre. Weatherall out to Marshall. Jed looking to give it some air here inside the own 22, and there's a wee bit of space on the far side with a man over. Shira Gibb cuts back in field, and the referee is going to give the Jed bench their wishes because they're screaming for a high shot, and the referee does indeed award the penalty. So Douglas thinks about going quickly. Now, are they going to get marched back 10 metres here, or is the referee just on his way to talk to a Highland player? Again, penalties just starting to rack up against them a wee bit. Jed have done pretty well to ride out this period with which they've had 10 men, because here comes Ben Fotheringham. He re-enters the fray, so not bad by Jed. I think that's only a net loss of 2 points. Highland 5, Jed 3 during that sin bin period, and the kick has been taken by Jed. The punt to the touchline, so it'll be a Jed line out now that they're back to the full quota just inside the Highland 10 metre line over on that far side. Again, it'll be Grant Paxton, the prop, on throwing in duties, and he's found his man at the front. That comes off the top, so here come Jed again through Marshall. Weatherall flat pass, Young to Young, but again that's loose to Lewis. Not Gregor's best pass there, but Gregor gets back to help his twin out, and Jed are going to be in possession, and another penalty comes the way of the home team as the volume here just goes up an octave or two. Jed maybe a wee bit fortunate to get away with that one, and the big winger Scott Fraser, I beg your pardon, it's Magnus Henry, scorer of a brilliant try right on half time. He's just limping a touch, but no, he looks like he's going to get back into position. The referee and the touch judge are now having a wee bit of a chat. Looks like they're discussing the tackle height from a Highland perspective. Scott Fraser's over there listening in, and now the referee is going to have a chat, and it looks like he's going to the pocket once again. Robert, he's going to have a chat with somebody, and it looks like it's Magnus Henry reluctantly coming forward. Yeah, talking about a shot to the neck area, and there is a flash of yellow. So 19 minutes gone in this second half. Going to be a Jed kick to touch. It's Jed Forest 20, Highland 18.
Let's go to Philip Hawke.
That is it. There have been 2 tries in this second half, both going to the away side. So as they went into the halftime break, 2 points down, they now currently sit 12 points to the good. Two great tries there, one from Jamie Malcolm coming off an overthrown line out. He ran like a bull straight and took two men with him over the whitewash, and now a great bit of counter-attacking move finalised with some swift hands. Saw outside centre Jamie Shedden go over for the pink and black hoops. It's been a total turnaround in this half, but both teams are fighting for everything they can get, trying to get one up on their opposite man. A real nail-biter here at Philip Hall, and a great game of rugby for a neutral. Score currently Selkirk 7, Ayr 19.
Also in the Premiership, latest scores: Curry 29, Hawick 17, Glasgow Hawks 23, Kelso 26, Heriots 5, Mar 14, and Musselburgh 13, Melrose 32. International 1, Dundee 14, Gala 12, GHA 46, Stirling County 14, Glasgow Accies 7, Biggar 5. Jed Forest is currently 20 points to 18 in their favour. Back to Riverside Park very shortly. Peebles 19, Boroughmuir 10. That's their third try and a second for Matt Carrier. Lasswade 5, GHK 10. Dale Robertson going over for Lasswade. And what about this one at Bladnoch Park? Newton Stewart 35, Gordonians 46. They were 20 points down and they're now 11 points up. What a swing in that game. And Preston Lodge 22, Berwick 9. Let's return to Riverside Park.
14-man Highland with a man in the bin have stolen Jed possession, and now they've been awarded a penalty, so this will give them the opportunity to eat up their sin bin time. They're going to kick this to touch. They're inside their own half. Pretty tight angle for Scott Fraser. Made his debut for Highland in 2013 on the occasion of his 165th appearance for the club, and that's a decent nudge down to the Jed 10 metre line, and Highland will be in no great hurry to take this, given that they're a man down, but they are of course 2 points adrift on the scoreboard. Around 22 minutes gone in this second half. Jed 20, Highland 18 in the Arnold Clark National 1, and that's palmed back by the prop at the tail line. That did not look the straightest throw-in I've ever seen, but the referee Tom French seems happy enough. So Highland in possession here. One of the try scorers, Stephen Murray, the latest to hit it up. Back with Fraser. Strong defence there by Jed on Dan Corr. Highland still in possession. Jed trying to counter this, so hooker Ollie Smith has to go in and play scrum half. It's fed out there to Ratuma Sisi. He's hauled down just inside Jed territory. Highland not doing too much with this at the moment. Now it's James Blair, the centre. He goes to the big second row, Rory Mighton, but he's driven back in the tackle, and Jed trying to get in over this, but they've knocked it on. No, illegally in there was Rory Marshall. So Tom French awards another penalty to Highland just inside their own half. Jed 20, Highland 18. And again, Scott Fraser will look to go down the touchline with it. Fraser, what can he do with this one? Again, decent enough nudge. It'll be a Highland line out 3 or 4 metres outside the Jed 22. So Jed just need to be careful here, just need to think about this. They don't want to concede against 14 men. 2 tries for Jed this afternoon, both to Clark Skeldon. Highland's 3 tries shared between Muratoki, Magnus Henry and Stephen Murray, as we await the throw in, and that's gone to the middle of the line out and off the top. So Highland, that looked forward on, it's resulted in the Highland player going straight through here. Red Sea stuff from Rory Mighton. He's been impressive, the big second row. So Highland coming in waves now up towards the Jed 5 metre line. The Jed home faithful screaming for a forward pass, and it did look like it had inched forward, but Jed, it would appear, have managed to turn this over. Temper's just starting to fray a wee bit in there as well, and a little bit of space is opened up for Weatherhead, and he's kicked it downfield. Here comes Muratoki. Footwork beats the first man, that was Mark Glenn, but he's hauled to the deck by the Jed cavalry. But Highland lost plenty of territory there, and they've lost possession as well because they've fumbled it, and it's going to be a Jed head and feet to a scrum just outside their own 22 from pretty much their own line, and that's good defence by the home team.
Yeah, great defence again. It was that was key there for Jed to not concede there. But it was a great line break from the Highland number 4. Well, he could argue it was on the line of being forward, but he just took it well, and Highland just couldn't finish off. I think it was Clark Skellin that turned the ball over there brilliantly. I think having said that, I'm quite surprised at Highland having looked for territory more so being a man down here. They've kind of made hard work it for themselves, to be honest. But fair play to Jed with that defensive display there. Listen, there's nothing between the two sides here. It's a pretty even game, so it's been a very entertaining game too. So it'd be interesting to see what the last 15 minutes or so brings in this one.
Yeah, 15 minutes to go here, according to the scoreboard clock, and it's been an evenly matched encounter here between a Jed team with one win to their name this season against a Highland team yet to register. Jed a man to the good here for another few minutes, and it's their scrum just outside their own 22. Highland have weathered the storm in respect to being a man down pretty well so far, and I've been impressed by the man that made that break from the short pass, Rory Mighton, this afternoon. The second row, he looks a bit of an athlete. He's put himself about. A few big carries now. It'll be Robbie Douglas to feed this scrum. Highland trying to get a nudge on, and now they've got a nudge on, so Douglas is going to have to deal with it himself, and through no fault of his own, the penalty has been conceded. So 14-man Highland are going to take a crack at goal here. The referee has already signalled now. They'll no doubt use the minute that is available to them, given the fact they have a man in the bin now. This must be 30 metres out, 15 metres in from, maybe 14 metres in from the stand side. So not a gimme by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly a kickable one, which would take Highland back into the lead if successful. Currently Jed 20, Highland 18, so it is nip and tuck. Scott Fraser, he's got one penalty to his name this afternoon. He's 1 from 4. They've not been the easiest set of kicks that he's faced, as the crowd falls silent in the most part. And Fraser, taking up the allocated time, begins the run up. Struck that reasonably, but again I thought it was to the right of the uprights, but eventually after a few seconds the assistant referees have raised the flag. So a successful kick at goal for Scott Fraser takes Highland back into the lead, and on comes the man who was sent to the bin, the big winger Magnus Henry. So Highland back to the full quota, as well as nudging into the lead. Jed 20, Highland 21. Highland missing a few today as well, under strength, and that's a decent kick, but it's been taken quickly by Jed. So Jed now looking to attack through fullback Lewis Young. He's caught on halfway. So Jed still in possession. Briggs picks and goes round the corner. Need to make sure he doesn't get isolated, but the Jed players arrive to support the hooker. Now it's Howe. Jed trying to operate over on that far side in the tight spaces. That was Robbie Sheargib cutting back in off his touchline. Now Briggs with a carry. He's met hard in the tackle, but he's rode it pretty well. The Butcher. Jed now Weatherhead. Now it's Gregor Young. Gregor Young trying to free the hands. He had a man rushing up on the outside. That was Cranston who's come on for Jed. Now it's Fotheringham with what seems like his umpteenth carry of the day. Takes it to deck. Good strong carry by the big New Zealander. Oh, and it's been fumbled in the midfield by Paxton. Maybe not the most sympathetic of passes by Weatherhead, the young 10, but fairly basic error. And with what, Robert, 10 minutes on the clock, that's not really what Jed need at the moment.
Absolutely not. No, that was a pretty silly mistake, to be honest. I think Weatherhead needed to slow that down a bit more. Grant Paxson obviously wasn't expecting that, but that's it's pretty unforgivable at this stage of the game, to be honest. I think that kind of lifts Highland's confidence up the last 10 minutes with a pretty solid defence there. So interesting to see Briggs seems to struggle now. He's carried back on. I've been pretty impressed with Ryan Briggs this game. He's put in some good carries. He's put his body about the place for somebody who's not a natural hooker. So it'd be interesting to see if Jed can compete and turn around this scrum. They kind of need to at this stage of the game to prevent Highland gaining any more momentum. Noticed you've got Muratoki on the blind here, kind of split. So it'd be interesting to see what Highland do here if they've got a set move.
Yeah, Muratoki's been a wee bit quieter again in the last 20 minutes or so. He was absolutely on fire just after half time. It's a period where Highland got right back into it. In fact, they took the lead and they've regained the lead now. It's Jed 20, Highland 21. Jed with a slight shunt on, but Highland got that out of there pretty quickly, and now Muratoki's received a pass back inside and he's made 5 metres up over halfway before he's hitting the tackle. McDonald again at the base of that, Fraser, and again it's that man with a big carry, Johnny Milton, but Jed done pretty well there to defend it, but Milton did beat the first man again, and this time it's Seamus Ross, the squat inside centre, back to the rangy figure of his standoff Scott Fraser. Highland just starting to inch forward here, and this is eating down the clock as well. The latest to carry into the contact, Ollie Smith, the hooker. So Highland still a point to the good as we come back into the last 10 minutes, and again second row, and that's been attempted at an intercept by Cranston, but it's been knocked on, never any danger of it being deemed to be slapped down. But that again will just eat up the clock a wee bit. Highland will be in absolutely no rush to take this scrum, which will be around halfway. How did Jed inject a wee bit of urgency into this, or is it not a case of injecting urgency? Is it just still continue to get down there, play the percentages?
I think there's still time in the game. I think they just need to get some clean ball for the scrum. For Highland, I think they're not kicking it away enough. They're looking to throw the ball about, bearing in mind they're 1 point up. I think they're not playing the territory game here. So like I said, Owen Cranston was very unlucky not to get the intercept there. I think had he not been semi-tackled there, he might have picked the ball up and at least gave Jed the possession, if not maybe made a break or kicked the ball down the line, put the pressure back on Highland. But Highland's scrum seems to be a wee bit more stable here, so it'll be interesting to see what another set move if they've got going here.
So Fotheringham's gone to 8, Briggs has come off. That means that Finn Scott's gone into hooker, and Owen Cranston's now come in at the back row because on has come Matthew Palmer. So a bit of reshuffling for Jed. Matthew Palmer, another of the youngsters that's come up from Jed Thistle this season, and the scrum's going to have to be reset. That won't suit Jed at all as they chase this game. Jed 20, Highland 21, maybe around 8-9 minutes to go in this one. As we get into the pressure moments, Jed will not want to lose a home game to a team that is below them in the table. It's been picked up again at the base by Highland, and they're looking to run a set move here, and it's out to Muratoki. Muratoki's up and over halfway line. He's seen a wee bit of space almost through the gap, but he's certainly made another 5 or 6 metres, the Fijian soldier, and they're still in possession here. Highland have taken it to ground. There's a good counter ruck in there by Jed, but again Highland have managed to secure it, and this time it's the other second rower with a carry, Dylan Monk, still in possession here. This time it's Johnny Milton, the prop. The clear out is good for Highland, so Fraser is putting a bit of a kick pass here. That's going to go into a pair of Jed hands. That looks like Robbie Shearer-Gibb over on that far side, so Jed back in possession but on their own 22 here. Now Highland have got a man writhing in agony on the floor, so Jed a man to the good here for all intents and purposes. Skeldon with a carry, pulls in a couple of defenders, but the referee's seen the injury and is going to stop proceedings. So Jed with a bit to do here, Robert. They're there's still time on the clock, but they're in their 22 and they've not seen much of the ball lately.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think, to be honest, regardless of the injury there to the Highland keeper, to the Highland player, I think they can consider themselves lucky there, because Jed had men out in the wide, and a fresh Matty Palmer there who was looking for ball. So it's maybe in the nicest way possible, came at the right time. But I see a couple of Jed guys down. Listen, there's still plenty of time in the game. It's only 1 point in it. Jed just need to calm things down a bit again and go back to what they're strong at, and their ball carrying. Skeldon, Fotheringham, take defenders out and let our guys out in the back line, find the space. There will be space there, but it's all about tying in the Highland players. They've still got experienced guys on the pitch that know how to win a game. They just need to relax a bit and just, a win's what we're wanting here. It's all about getting the result, but they just need to calm things down a bit. But that certainly will be a key loss for Highland. They're losing the big second row. He's been pretty influential from this game, so this 5 minutes could be a test, certainly in the scrum for Highland, because that's where they've been pretty strong in the last 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, they're already minus 6 frontline forwards today at Highland, and that is Dylan Monk, the big second row, who's been impressive this afternoon. He's sadly being helped from the field by a couple of the Highland substitutes, which is what we don't want to see. Him and his second row partner Rory Mighton have been impressive this afternoon. You could say Mighton's been mighty, because he's trucked up an awful lot of ball, including a 30 or 40 metre carry which took Highland deep into Jed territory. But it's going to be a Jed scrum here. Rory Marshall's come off and Robbie Duff's gone on. That should mean that Cranston will go back into the backs, you'd imagine. Oh, and there's a wee half break on there by Robbie Douglas. He wasn't held and he's been allowed to get back up. The Highland bench thought he'd been held, but he wasn't. That enabled him to have a second bite at the cherry, and here comes the first carry for Robbie Duff, and Douglas is at the base of this. It's Weatherhead. Jed still in possession, up towards their own 10 metre line. So Jed here still a point down. Jed 20, Highland 21. Young comes in, that familiar step that we've seen so often over the years. Grieve takes it into the contact. He's tackled by Scott Fraser. Still going. Good carry, but that's the Hollywood offload, or at least the attempt at it, has not come to fruition. So that's a knock on. And Robert, that's exactly what you were alluding to, not to panic, and that the hard work had been done there, and then it was the Hail Mary almost.
Absolutely. Kyle is outstanding when he takes the ball up into contact. He bumps the guy up man off every time, and as you say, the Hollywood offload to Owen Cranston, if it had worked, yes, there was a chance Owen was going to score, but at this stage of the game, it's all about keeping a hold of the ball, and that's crucial at this time of the game. Absolutely crucial. So let's hope that they can get a strong scrum here and at least try and get the ball back, because time's ticking.
Time is now ticking, probably 3 or 4 minutes left in this one. Jed not where they want to be, a point down on the scoreboard, and Highland taking all the time in the world to set this scrum, which is just in Jed territory. It's almost equidistant between the halfway line and the Jed 10 metre line. Rory MacDonald at the base of this, and it's been fired out to Scott Fraser. A couple of penalties this afternoon for Fraser, and there's a wraparound play on here, and it's come to one of the try scorers on this near side, Magnus Henry. Pumps the leg, still Henry. He's a big lad, and he's put it to good use this afternoon. So Highland, here they come again. One of the substitutes, that's Gus Wilson, on for his debut, third team player of the season last year. So stepping up a couple of levels. Highland making full use of their squad at the moment. Such are the number of boys on the treatment table. Muratoki, again, he's been pretty influential in the last 10 minutes or so, but Skeldon trying to take the ball from him, and the referees deemed that it's been knocked on somewhere in that melee by Muratoki. That's good work by the captain, Skeldon. Just when they need a captain's knock, they got one there by the big second row. So it'll now be a Jed scrum, 5-6 metres in from the stand side. here, but Jed just outside their own 22. 40 minutes are up according to the scoreboard clock, but there will be a minute or two, no doubt, for injuries, etc. Jed 20, Highland 21, and Highland, you have to say, have had the upper hand since maybe midway through the first half. They grew into the game after Jed had racked up a couple of quick scores, and they've got a shunt on that scrum as well. Lewis Elder rather's on the substitute scrum half for Jed, but he's going to have to go in and secure this ball. It's picked up at the base by Fotheringham. Highland substitutes and coaches screaming the orders from the touchline as Elder tries to have a snipe, and he's flung it back, and it's going to have to be picked on. There's almost an interception there. Now that might leave holes for Jed to exploit. They're going to try to go from deep, and it's opened up for Jed here. They're up and over the halfway line, and it's out there to Robbie Shearer-Gibb. Now has Shearer-Gibb got the pace? He comes back infield, and it's been intercepted by a Highland player. So Highland now with a chance to come, and that looks like Magnus Henry, and now Highland, and Henry's still going, and he's up and over halfway. It's all happening here at Riverside in the dying embers of this game. Jed with a chance, and Muratoki now, it's out to the outside centre, James Blair, and it's been fumbled by the substitute, another Fijian. It's Roy, easy for me to say. I've been caught up in it all here, all of the excitement. It's all happening at Riverside. Jed, was that a butchering of the opportunity? They almost went coast to coast, but what a timely intervention by Magnus Henry. We're not picking a man of the match today, as far as I'm aware, but Robert, if I was, Henry would be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, wow, what a last minute or so, you know, what could have been a Highland interception to a Jed Forest breakaway, Shearer-Gibb, and then another interception by Magnus, and he just broke away up the line and put Highland in a great position, obviously, for the knock on. It's wow, what a finish to what's been a very two-sided game. You know, there's nothing between them, and yeah, it'll be interesting. Whoever wins this deserves it today, I think.
Yeah, it's been nip and tuck, no quarter asked and none given, and Jed, their scrum was in retreat there, but they've kept the possession, and Duff trucks it up. Elder, he's going to go to Weatherhead, out to Paxton, up over the 10 metre line, so still life in this game yet, but Jed needs something pretty quickly. They'll be looking to get down into Highland territory and at least have the opportunity of a kickable penalty, or maybe even a lesser spotted drop goal, who knows. But Highlander trying to counter that Jed ruck there, and Skeldon, and there's a pushing and shoving situation happening on the far side. Lewis Young looking for the far side AR to intervene, but he's having none of it. So Elder again at the base of this most recent ruck. Skeldon out to Cranston. It's gone over on that far side to one of the young twins. I can't see the number on the back, and he's perilously close to the touchline. The referee looks like we might be going to award Jed a penalty here, and Skeldon hits it up again just up to halfway line, Jed, and yes, there is indeed a penalty coming, and the referee's going to have a chat here with his assistant. Not long left to go in this one. It's certainly going to be a penalty to Jed. Are they going to receive, or is Highland going to receive a yellow card here? It's a lengthy chat between the two officials. Lewis Young was certainly remonstrating with the assistant referee after what was the coming together with a Highland player. I'm just keeping an eye on this. He's having a word with the number 8, Owen McDonald. The captain's in there as well, and Owen McDonald is going to be sent from the field. It is a yellow card, but he will play no further part. Such is the number of minutes left in this encounter, so Highland will see out the game with 14 men, and Jed will look to send this as far into Highland territory as they can. Played it safe a wee bit there, Young, but it's going to be a Jed line out nonetheless, almost halfway between the Highland 10 metre line and the Highland 22. So 45 minutes now on the scoreboard clock. Possibly one last roll of the dice for Jed Forrest. Jed 20, Highland 21. What a result this would be on their longest trip of the season for the man from Highland. Inverness. Weatherall tries to show and go, and he's up towards the 22. He's made good metres, the slight figure there, but he's caught up in that, so Skeldon's going to truck it up and enable his standoff to get back out and into position. Elder to Young, cuts back inside, held. Good defence there by 14-man Highland. Again, the Highland subs screaming for something that is not forthcoming. Finn Scott tries to go round the Fijian substitute. Now Skeldon again. Actually, Skeldon's the dummy runner, and that's gone to Grant Paxton, who's going to go for the full shift here. Some effort by the big prop. Loose pass again. It's a bounce pass. It's taken in by Lewis Young. He's hit hard in the tackle. Gus Wilson, the debutant, was in there somewhere as well. So Jed's still in possession, but they've gone back 10 metres from the 22, which is where they were a minute or so ago. But they've got numbers on this near side, and Skeldon, he goes route one, and that's a good offload to Lewis Elder. Lewis Elder comes back in field. Now that's gone loose, but it's been picked up by a Jed player. That's Grieve, and Grieve again's bounced off Highland player, and he's still going. Kyle Grieve, he's made great territory there. Another that's going to do the full shift. Now Jed have got numbers here. Jed have got numbers if they can use it over on that far side. Highland desperately trying to get back into position here. Now can Jed get this to ground? They have got it to ground. It's going to come back on the Jed side. Frantic stuff in the dying embers of this game here at Riverside Park this afternoon. Oh, and it's been intercepted and knocked on by a Highland player. Somebody in the crowd screaming for an offside penalty, and the referee does duly oblige, and there's more pushing and shoving and shirt grabbing and nothing more than that to be seen. Tempers just started to fray in the last 10 minutes or so, as you'd expect, in what has been a nip and tuck encounter. There's not been much by way of champagne rugby on show, but it's been an intriguing game nonetheless between two teams that, let's face it, only 4 games into the campaign, both desperate for a win here. Such is the nature of the division. We've spoken about it so often on Rugby Radio this season. 3 will depart from this division come the end of the season. It's a 10-team league, but you fancy Stirling will not be in the mix, you fancy Glasgow Accies won't be in the mix, and you certainly fancy GHA won't be in the mix. So it will need to be most likely 7 into 3. So like I say, both these teams absolutely desperate for a victory here today. Jed 1 from 3 so far, and the referee's whistle goes, and it's a tap and go, and Finn Scott's up towards the line, comes back on the Jed side. They're going to try and rumble it round the corner. Highland trying to be resolute here. They're camped right on their own line. Last play for Jed, you would assume. They're just held up short here. Desperate stuff for the men in royal blue, and there's a counter ruck in there by Highland, but Jed still in possession. They'll need to think about using it and come round the corner. They're over the line. Has it been dotted down? No, they're just short, but it has come back, and the referee's got his arm out again. There's a stanchion in the way here. I can hardly see what's happening, but Jed still in possession, and it comes back here. They're going to go out the back. They're playing with a free ball here. Bounce pass again to Lewis Young. He cuts back inside. He heads towards the post. Lewis Young comes back one way then another. Lewis Young, he's over. The crowd are in raptures. The subs are in raptures. The coaches are in raptures. They've piled onto Lewis Young. The Jed players, Highland players, look forlorn. Will the referee blow his whistle? Lewis Young rolling back the years, sensing the space, sensing the gap, only too happy to take it. And Robert Hogg, high drama here at Riverside.
Oh, that's no good for the heart. No, that was brilliant for Jed. You know, it's obviously playing the advantage of the penalty. You always, 9 times out of 10, you always look to throw it out wide to our strengths. And once the Highland Russian player missed that first tackle, for me it was try time for Lewis Young. He He's produced many of those tries over the years, and I think it is just rewards for Jed there for that last 10 minutes of play. Highland at points of the game will be kicking themselves, don't get me wrong, but obviously losing your number 8 with the last 10 minutes of the game, that's costly on them. Their discipline hasn't been great today, neither has Jed's, to be honest, but Jed's been the more crucial clinical team when it's mattered, and I think this is a brilliant result for Jed after last week's result, and especially going into the next 2 weeks against arguably the two best teams in the league. So this will give Jed a big confidence boost, and hopefully their guys that are currently injured can maybe recover in time for the big game away up to GHA next week. But yeah, great result for Jed here.
As Weatherall's conversion, Weatherhead rather, sails between the sticks, and that takes the final score to Jed Forest 27, Highland 21. What an ending we've had here, and Robert, that's a good point well made about Jed's next 2 fixtures. GHA and Stirling County, you're absolutely right, they look to be the 2 form horses in this league, and that all the more reason that this is a timely victory for Jed here this afternoon.
Absolutely, but again it comes with its setbacks. I'm seeing a couple of key players hobbling towards the opposition there. Ben Fotheram, you're hoping that's just a dead leg by the looks of things. Gary, I know Gary's had ankle issues, so hopefully he gets wrapped up there for the next week. And as I see, Finlay Scott, I think's got quite a bad cut there to the head. But listen, let's take the positives out of this. It was a win was sorely needed by both teams, but yeah, we'll take that with great confidence. And listen, seeing some of the scores today in the National League, you know, it's obviously how you turn up on the day. So let's hope Jed get a good week of training ahead of them, and they go up to GHA full confidence and ready to challenge, certainly, and cement their place in this league.
A challenge it will be at GHA next week, that's for sure. But here at Riverside this afternoon, Jed will emerge with the spoils. It didn't look like it until the very last play of the game, but 2 tries for Captain Clark Skeldon and 1 at the death for Lewis Young have countered the tries by Muratoki, Magnus Henry and Stephen Murray for Highland. And a ding-dong battle is finished here at Riverside. Jed Forest 27, Highland 21.
Breathless stuff, my goodness me, down here at Jed Forest. And of course there'll be some reaction to that game from both parties very, very shortly. We're on the air till 5:30, so plenty of reaction still to come. In fact, we can go to Kelso, because Glasgow Hawks 37, Kelso 33. It ended. Here's Director of Rugby at Kelso, Neil Hinnigan.
An end-to-end thriller at Balgree today for Hawks against Kelso. Kelso feel probably bitterly disappointed they didn't get the full 5 points, but that was made really difficult with around 20 minutes to go when substitute winger Naira Moncrief was red carded for a dump tackle, spear tackle. It looked like the player landed on his back, but the touch judge and referee came to the conclusion that it was on the bottom of his neck, therefore a red card. This changed the game a little bit at that time. Kelso were fairly on top, and from there on Hawks managed to score around about 14-17 points at that time, and Kelso did score at the end to get 2 losing bonus points, 1 for 4 tries and 1 for being within 7. All in all, not too bad getting 2 points away from home, but on the wrong side of the referee again. The referee was very, very kind to Hawks at times, and that helped out a fair bit for them, and a mixture of daft penalties in between by Kelso. A lot to work on.
There we are, that's Neil Hinnigan. Glasgow Hawks winning that one, high-scoring thriller, 70 points in all, 37-33. Curry 36, Hoyk 31 is a final score. Hoyk getting 2 bonus points at Millennium Park, but it sounds like a bit of a thriller up there. Heriots against Mar, they're still playing. Latest score we have, Heriots 31, Mar 14. Hugh Brown will send us a report as soon as that's over. Musselburgh 13, Melrose 51. So Melrose having a fantastic second half. Selkirk 12, Ayr 33. Selkirk went in at half-time 7 points to 5 up. We'll hear how that one went from our reporter Sam Matthews very shortly, but a good comeback from Ayr. National 1, latest score, Dundee 17, Gala 27. Final score at Braidholme, and this is quite astonishing, GHA 60, Stirling County 22, the Super 6 champions from last year. That is amazing. We'll be talking to, hopefully, Callum Forrester from GHA a little bit later on in the programme. Don't forget, we're on here till 5:30. Still waiting on Glasgow Accies and Biggar. The last we'd heard, it was 7-5. I'm sure lots happened since then. Jed Forrest, as we know, 27, Highland 21. Last gasp try there for Jed Forrest. I think it was 3 they got in the end, so they don't get the try bonus, but they'll be very happy with the 4 points. Highland, very unlucky, and still, of course, without a win after 4 games. And Peebles have won 26-15 against Boroughmuir at the Guides. Remember, newly promoted Matty Carrier getting a hat-trick. National 2, the results are Kirkcaldy 37, Stewart's Melville 35. That was played last night. Lasswade 5, GHK 15. And, well, this is an extraordinary one because Newton Stewart were leading by 35 points to 15. It ended Newton Stewart 47, Gordonians 53. What an extraordinary match that is. Exactly 100 points at Bladnoch Park. And Preston Lodge 25, Berwick 14. Preston Lodge finally getting their revenge on Berwick for the last couple of defeats at the Penny Pit, and they got a try bonus as well. So Preston Lodge 25, Berwick 14 is the scoreline there. After the break, we'll hopefully get some reaction from Riverside Park.
This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio.
Borders water, Borders barley and Borders people. That's what makes the Borders Distillery. Working exclusively with local farmers, the Borders Distillery is bringing whiskey making back to the region. Our award-winning distillery is open to everyone, where you can meet the people behind the scenes, explore our wash house and shop quality local products. Tour your local distillery and discover the spirit of the Borders. Full details at thebordersdistillery.com. Always enjoy our spirit responsibly. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult when visiting the Borders Distillery.
With over 30 years' experience in print and embroidery, BE Uniforms are one of Scotland's leading rugby teamwear specialists. We currently supply many great clubs across Scotland and the north of England, offering brands such as Adidas, Macron, Canterbury and BE Sport. We have a specialist teamwear team who collectively have over 60 years' experience in the trade, delivering quality teamwear and finding solutions to the challenges out there. If your club is looking for a new supplier and would like to know more, get all the details at beuniforms.co.uk. Proud sponsors of Rugby Radio and Borders Rugby TV. BE Uniforms, your identity is our purpose.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
This is Rugby Radio. Rugby Radio.
Well, I think we can go to Golden Acre now. Hugh Brown is there. It's all over between Heriots and Mar.
Trailing by 9 points at the break, Heriots ran in 5 tries in this half without reply. Prop Chris Keith was first when he clawed back ground in 49 minutes with a touchdown. Then it was a solo run from halfway line by skipper Rory Leishman, who put the nails in front for the first time in the match. Substitute Lewis Wells gave Heriots the bonus point with a score under the post in 64 minutes. And 4 minutes after that, cool as you like, George Cool put the result beyond doubt. And in the 80th minute, try 6 was by Lewis Wells with his second of the game. So Heriots' unbeaten run continues with win number 4 in the Premiership. Final score here at Golden Acre, Heriots 36, Mar 14.
Let's go back to Riverside Park. It ended a big thriller there by 27 points to 21. Robin Purdy.
Thank you, Stuart. I'm here with Jed captain Clark Skeldon. You left it late, Clark.
Aye, that wasn't in the script before kick-off, but credit to the boys who dug in at the end there. Kind of got ourselves in a hole in the beginning of that second half, let away a couple of sloppy tries and found ourselves chasing, and at the end to grind it out like that. We said after last week we were going to try and get in front and stay in front, and we did that the first half, and luckily this week we managed to grind out the result at the end.
And you made a fast start. You gave up a few kicks at goal in favour of going for the corner. Was a kind of bonus point on the mind from the get-go?
I mean, the penalties were all kind of close to the touchline anyway, and at the start of games you always back yourself going to the corner route back to the maul. Unfortunately it never worked out that way, but Aaron, I think he sorted a couple of penalties in the game to keep us in front. So I think that was just us backing our maul. It didn't execute a look at that, but happy to get a couple of scores anyway.
And Highland scored literally on the stroke of half time. That looked like it changed the complexion of the game, and it probably very much changed the complexion of the team talk, I would imagine. Well,
we done really well to get a couple of scores up, and we were reasonably comfy, and then a first phase kind of try like that, just individual tackles and stuff, and all of a sudden it's a tight game and it gives them a bit of belief, and we knew they'd come out firing second half. We knew they were dangerous out wide, and they done that, and they scored a couple of really good tries and put us under real pressure. But to soak that up like we did, and eventually be able to grind out the win was really good.
And you're right, they scored almost right after half time, and it was game on from then. But it looks like it's been a good squad effort today. You must be pleased with the contribution of the guys that came on.
Aye, exactly. There's a couple of young boys came on there, carried really well, and that's what we're wanting. Again, when you do make the changes, nothing changes. We know our roles. And it was great it was an old head and Lewis obviously finding the whitewash in the end, but some great work for the young boys coming on for the bench.
And next 2 weeks, it doesn't get any easier. GHA next week, and then Stirling the week after that. To put it into context, how much more important does it make a win here today with that on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, we set our stall at the beginning of the season. We wanted to win our home games and turn Riverside back into a kind of fortress, and make sure we're winning our home games, and if you can pick up wins on the road. We've already beaten Hartree Mill. It's a tough place to go, and Gala obviously last week, but we've been at GHA before. Every time we play there it's a tough game. We know how they like to play, and we work through the week, try to figure a way we can go up there and try and get a win.
Well, Clark, thanks for joining us here, and we wish you all the best for that next week. Well played today.
Perfect, spot on, cheers.
The skipper of Highland is just making his way up the stairs. Scott Fraser, a couple of penalties to his name this afternoon. Scott, thanks very much for joining us here on Rugby Radio. Commiserations, I'm guessing that's the one that got away.
Yeah, just gutted. We put everything into it, and it could have gone either way at the end, but it just didn't quite fall our way. But we put in a hell of an effort, and can go back up the road pretty proud of the performance.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of pride shown today. It was a reasonably slow start, but you very much grew into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the try we scored just before half time felt like a big kind of momentum changer. We had a real strong start to the second half, but we just didn't quite manage to get that extra score that would have maybe killed off Jed. And we knew they're a good team. We know it's a tough place to come, and that they've got some classy operators, and they were always going to be in with a shout. And unfortunately, they just snuck it right at the end.
They did. And was discipline maybe the difference, if you like, at the end?
Well, yeah. I mean, were we two or three yellow cards? So yeah, I mean that certainly contributes. But I'll be careful what I say, but I think when things aren't going well, maybe decisions don't quite go your way, and you don't get these little breaks that sometimes add up and make a difference. But yeah, I mean, if that's the ref's calls, that's the ref's calls, and we need to learn from it. We need to improve our discipline, because you're going to struggle at this level, giving away that number of penalties rightly or wrongly.
And Dundee up next week. It's almost your kind of your closest your closest rivals, if you like that. I'm guessing that kind of has the look of a must-win game about it now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd say must-win. I mean, the results don't lie. We are 0 wins from 4, but I think the reality is it's not been quite as bad as that. But yeah, I mean, we back ourselves against anyone at home. We know that if we perform, then we can beat anyone on our day, and hopefully we'll do that. Hopefully maybe a body or two to come back in. Just to bolster things, although I'm not sure how we're standing on the injury front after today. But yeah, hopefully we'll it's an important game, and hopefully we can get a good positive result out of it.
Well, Scott, like I say, thanks for joining us. Hugely gutsy performance by your guys today. It's a lengthy old bus journey for you guys, but enjoy it. Go get yourself a beer.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.
So there we are. That's what's been happening at Riverside Park today. We can confirm the final score at Annisland. It was Glasgow Accies 33, Biggar 28. That was the result that was missing. Well, we're still on the air for half an hour. Plenty of reaction still to come. And let's go back to Golden Acre, because waiting for us there is Hugh Brown, and he's talking to the Heriot captain, Rory Leishman.
Rory, it was certainly a game of two halves, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Mar started, we talked about starting really well ourselves, but it was Mar that came out absolutely firing and disrupted us at set piece a little bit, and we're pretty physical and heavy pack, and sort of just played really well and we had a lot of the ball, but they just kept us out for the whole first half pretty much. So all credit to Mar for that first half.
So what did Bob have to say to you at the interval in the changing room?
I don't think it was too difficult, because we spent the whole first half in the Mar half, in the third. It was just one or two different little passes or one or two different decisions, and we'd fix it. So it wasn't too difficult. It wasn't too difficult a situation at half time. We knew we had it in us. We just had to make it click.
So 5 tries in the second half without reply. You must be pleased.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We know we've got a really good bench that could come on and make a real impact. And I think our bench was fantastic today. I think Charlie Jupp and Flynn Thomas coming off, and the forward pack made a real impact, and gave us a lot of go forward and a lot of dominance in defence as well.
How much difference does having some of the former Super 6 players mean to Heriot?
Yeah, I think it's helpful. I think the boys that have played Super 6 are used to the physicality and the sort of those tight games. A lot of the Super 6 teams are very competitive and they were very physical, so a lot of us are pretty used to it. So it's just a job of bringing the boys that were in the Blues last year, raising them to that level, and I think we're doing a pretty good job so far.
Well, Ayr won today as well, so you've both got 4 wins out of 4. It's going to be tough at the top.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think we've got Ayr here in November, I think, so there's a few games to go until then, but I'm looking forward. I think boys will start to look forward to that game quite soon.
Overall, though, very happy with how the team are performing so far in the Premiership.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've had 4 games now. We've played Melrose, an ex-Super 6, who've had a Super 6 team. We've played Hawick, who have one of the past champions. We've played Mar, past champions. Accies, who were in the final last year, and we've won all those games. So we've not had an easy. I wouldn't say that we've played a lot of good teams and we've come out on top. So really happy with how the season's gone so far.
Congratulations today, really well done.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Rory Leishman talking to Hugh Brown there, who then went on and spoke to the Mar captain, Grant Baird.
Grant, you must be a wee bit disappointed.
Yeah, no, definitely. First half, thought we were really, really good. I've not seen us defend like that in a number of seasons that I've been involved with. The intent from the boys was outstanding, but second half, I felt like we just ran out of steam a little bit. Couldn't really put phases together, and Heriots were clinical when they got their chances.
Certainly they seemed to come out firing on all cylinders in the second half, because it must have been a shock to them to be losing at half time.
No, absolutely, it felt like that. And then again, when they brought on that bench that had a lot of Super 6 experience, they upped the game, and it was difficult to deal with, but we need to be better. I think we made it easy at times. There's a couple of tries on the edge which we're a bit disappointed about. I felt like we could probably have defended a little bit better. But fair play to Heriots. Real good side and quality across the board.
There's a big debate about whether sides that had Super 6 teams have an advantage over those that didn't. What's your view?
I think that there is a definite advantage because the quality of some of those players, but I'm not against it at all. I said before at the team talk before we came out, it's a challenge for us. It's something to get excited about. You want to play in these big games. You want to play against guys that are at the top of the amateur game. So I've got no issues with them being in this league, and I think it'll even itself out over the course of a couple of seasons.
One of the things I suppose about the Mar side is that you feel that you've got more to give as the season goes on, because you'll only get better, and most of the boys will get a game every week, which some of the Heriots players and some of the other teams won't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we are in a bit of a transition with the squad that we've got at the moment, but we've got boys that are coming through. The experience playing against teams like Heriot, that's only going to do boys kind of a favour going forward. We've got young Jamie Braddock in there, 18 years old. He was Team of the Week last week. He's came and played again against boys that are of real quality. So yeah, we'll get better as the season goes on, and I think we just need to lick our wounds and go again next week against Kelso.
Kelso will be a tough team to beat next week at home.
No, absolutely, they always are. It's always a real physical battle, but we do back ourselves at home. We've got a good record at Fullerton, beat Kelso at Fullerton last season, so hopefully we can replicate that, and it's our Ladies' Day next week, so it'll be a busy day at Fullerton, and hopefully we're on the right end of the result as well.
Thanks for talking to me on Rugby Radio.
No
Thanks, Grant.
Cheers, thank you very much.
There we are, that is Grant Baird from Mar talking to Hugh Brown this afternoon, and that match ending Heriot's 36, Mar 14. Mar going ahead 14-0 in that game. Well, our trusty lady Babs Shield has been going through the Premiership table and the results today, and has come up with, we'll have to call it unofficial, but I'm sure it's accurate. First Ayr, 20 points at the top of the table. Second, Heriot's also 20 points. My goodness, when those two meet, there's going to be some fireworks. In third position now, Watsonians, after their win last night. They're now on 13 points. In fourth position, Glasgow Hawks. They're on 12 after their win against Kelso today. In fifth position, it's Edinburgh Accies on 11. Sixth, it's Melrose, who have 10 points. Seventh position, it's Selkirk with 9 points. We did actually mention yesterday the strange thing that Melrose could actually become the top Borders team as far as the ranking is concerned today, and that means in 4 weeks we've had 4 different Borders teams at that position. So Melrose going into 6th on 10 points, 7th Selkirk with 9. In 8th position it's Hawick with 8, 9th Kelso with 8 as well. In 10th position, Mar with 8, and 11th Curry, who now also have 8, and down the bottom Musselburgh with 4 points. So that's how it looks in the Premiership tonight. In National 1, GHA go to the top of the table, 19 points for them after their thumping win against Stirling County, putting 60 points on the Super 6 champions. Unbelievable. Stirling then dropped to second with 16 points, and third place it's Glasgow Accies. They had a win against Biggar today, so they are on 15 points. And fourth with 14 it's Gala. In fifth with 13 it's now Jed Forest. In sixth position it's Biggar with 12 points. Seventh position Peebles on 11. Eighth Boroughmuir on 6. Ninth Dundee on 3, and Highland at the bottom still, but a bonus point for them today, a losing bonus. It could have been so much more, but they have 2 points. So that's your National 1 table. In National 2 it's Preston Lodge who go to the top of the table on points difference. They beat Berwick today at the Penny Pit, and they're sitting aloft the table, 12 points for them. Stumel in second. They were top of the table, but they lost, of course, last night to Kirkcaldy. 12 points for Stumel. In third place it is Gordonians on 10. Fourth, Kirkcaldy on 10. Fifth, Falkirk with 7 points. Sixth, also with 7 points, it's GHK. Seventh, Lasswade on 5. Eighth, Newton Stewart with 2 points. Very unlucky for them today. 20 points up in that 100-point game, and just missing out, but they got 2 bonus points today. And Berwick still on 0 in 9th position. Only 9 teams, of course, in that particular league. What we're going to do now is have a little chat with Ian Bothinison from Edinburgh Accies, head coach, and of course during the week a new charity was launched to help grassroots rugby in Scotland called Great, and the man behind it, as I say, is Ian Bothinison, and he told us all about it.
We were delighted to launch the Grassroots Rugby for Everyone Awards Trust, or GREAT for short, really with the aim of growing the number of children and adults who play and support the game throughout Scotland. We hope later on in the year to open up a grant scheme to individuals, rugby clubs, schools and charities to help make this happen. We've got a further lunch coming up on the 25th of October at Melrose, and then another on the 8th of November in Newton Moor, and we'll have one in the west of the country to announce soon. Through GREAT, we're hoping to continue to drive the positive message around rugby. The physical, mental well-being part, teamwork, problem solving, strategy, communication, those aspects of life that are so important. but also as our patron, Gregor Townsend, spoke about the lifelong friendships that are made are really important as well. Hopefully, through GREAT, we can provide new opportunities for children and adults to be involved in the game, which in turn will help grow the game, bring further communities together, and help improve the talent pool in the grassroots game, which will benefit the professional game ultimately. Having Gregor Townsend as our patron, he's the perfect fit for GREAT, as he discussed at the launch a lot about the above. So please take some time, check out our website, greatrugby.scot. There you can donate, or if you'd like to get in touch and have any questions, please do so at info@greatrugby.scot. Together we can all help make Scottish rugby great again.
Well, a tremendous charity there that's just started. Gregor Townsend is the patron, and that was Ian Bethunson from Edinburgh Accies, who is the man behind it. And do check it out. There's plenty of information online. Well, let's go back to one of our featured games, Selkirk against Ayr. It ended 33-12 to Ayr. It's a couple of tries for Callum Anderson from Selkirk, and we can hear from him now.
Well, Callum, a tough outing for the boys there, but there's a lot of positives you can take in there.
Yeah, you kind of want to say either win or you learn, so it's definitely a massive learning experience for us today. I think we showed the rest of the league that we can compete with these teams. It's just, we spoke after, it's just errors either side of the ball, a few errors that just lets these teams back into the game. But it was a good 40-minute performance, but probably just didn't take it into that second half.
I was going to say the defensive front, especially in the first half there, I said it in my full-time report, I was particularly impressed with your loose forwards in the first half, but a full 15-man performance in defence there, was that something you knew you had to tackle going into the game?
Yeah, I mean, from last week we defended well. There was a lot of chat about how well we defended in the second half last week, but it had to go up another level today. I mean, a few key turnovers, as you say, from the back row lads, and I just making the first up tackles, which was really good, and to keep a team like that to 5 points at half time, you've chuffed a bit to that, so yeah.
Yeah, 2 tries for yourself this afternoon as well, which is always nice to get on the score sheet. But what really impressed me was the management of the discipline. It started to get feisty at that 25-minute mark. We saw a few questionable challenges, a few late ones. How is it important for you as a fullback and sort of like one of the leaders of the team to try and marshal everybody and just keep the team ticking over?
Yeah, I think their 10 had a good game for the boot, so you're giving away penalties, you're instantly conceding 40-50 metres, so I think it's just when teams are pinned down in their own half, I think we've probably been bad in past seasons at giving away penalties and giving them a cheap out, so I think we showed today that if they're exiting off their 9 and things like that, we're just getting a better field position. It just keeps us in the battle.
And then lastly, like you said, a few mistakes and errors, but a lot of positives to take out of that game in a learning lesson for yourselves. How does that feel for you going into next week?
Yeah, really good. I mean, one of the biggest things as well is a physical game like that and coming away for it. I don't think we have any major injuries, and then hopefully another few boys coming back next week. So, as I say, a really good learning experience for the team. Will be better because of that game, and good to just keep everyone on the park.
Perfect. Cheers, Callum.
Thank you.
Callum Anderson, and he literally just arrived there. Let's hear the report of that game, in fact, from Sam.
Full time at Philip Hall, and it is another 5 points for Ayr. They once again sit top of the table, 20 points from 20 in a very impressive second half performance after a rather even first half. 4 tries in the second half, a consolation from Selkirk right at the end to keep the score respectable, but it ends Selkirk 12, Ayr 33. Ben Frame, Roddy Tanner, Jamie Bover, James Malcolm and Amena Kakasau getting the points for the away side this afternoon. Richie Simpson was 4 from 5 off the boot this afternoon. A very impressive performance of him in the 10 jersey, marshalling the pink and black hoops. Selkirk will take a lot of promise from this game, especially in the first half. A brilliant defensive effort. I personally thought their loose forwards were outstanding in Taylor Wilson and Dylan Rowland playing an open side and blind side flanker respectively. Sesh Henderson and the rest of the Selkirk team will have a lot to do next week to make sure that they can bounce back from this loss, but like I said, a really impressive performance from the Sooters. At the end of the day though, it just looked like the strength and depth of this dominant Ayr side was too much to handle, and you could just see as we crept into the final quarter of the game that it was just going to be proving too much for the home side this afternoon. A very good game for the neutrals, tooth and nail. Every member of both sides put everything they had on the line, but it ends here at Philip Haw. Selkirk 12, Ayr 33.
OK, we'll try and get some reaction from the Ayr point of view from Grant Anderson or one of the players very, very shortly. But in National 1 today, a good win for Gala at Dundee, 27 points to 17. And hear from a couple of players now, starting with Tim Kavanagh.
So we started well coming up here. It was a beautiful day for rugby, nice calm day, no sun. We started well, got down, scored the first try. Dundee then had a purple patch. They played a bit of good rugby, scored a decent try. Straight off kick-off, we fell asleep a little bit. and they went the length. First phase. We then stuck in the rest of the first half, and worked our way back in to half time, down I think 14-5. Came out the second half, and we played all the rugby in the second half. A nice intercept try by Ben Gill to start us off, and then we just built pressure from there. They stuck in, we defended our line for about 5-7 minutes, and deflected that, got back up the other end of the pitch and scored. So I think it's got the hoodoo off our back about away games and that pressure, and I think it puts us in good stead to kick on now in the league.
And from Tim McKavanagh, we go to Harris Rutherford.
Yeah, just following Tim, we had a bit of a shaky start. Maybe didn't get off the bus. We started well. We started well the first 10 minutes, and then after that, as Tim said, they had a bit of a purple patch, and seemed to play a good standard of rugby. After the second half, we discussed and thought what we could change for the second half, and we came out all guns blazing really. And as a team, we played really well. Discipline was probably a large part of the issue in the first half, but we managed to turn it around and play some real good rugby to the second half. And so just some props to some of the boys. Jacob Moore with his debut, he stuck in well at flanker, played real well. Ben Gill, as Tim just said, I think he 2 tries, one try and an intercept. So yeah, boys stuck in well, and a good team and individual performance.
Big win for Gala, thanks to Harris Rutherford and Tim McKavanagh there. And from Harris to Harry, and Harry Morris, in fact, who was part of Melrose's big win at Musselburgh, 51 points to 13. We can hear from him now.
Game went really well. It was pretty tough. First half had to stick in, but I feel like we stuck in it. And by the time the second half came round, we were able to get on top and run away with it second half. So I really chuffed with the boys and how they played and how they stuck in. Good result.
Well, let's have a quick look at next week's fixtures in the Premiership. Ayr against Glasgow Hawks, Inver Accies versus Musselburgh, Hawick are at home to Watsonians, Heriots against Curry, Mar against Kelso, and Melrose will be taking on Selkirk. In National 1, it's Boroughmuir against Glasgow Accies, Gala against Peebles. That's going to be our featured commentary match for next week. National 1 also GHA against Jed Forest, Highland versus Dundee, and Stirling County will play host to Biggar. In National 2, it's Berwick against Lasswade, Falkirk versus Stewart's Melville, GHK against Newton Stewart, and Kirkcaldy against Preston Lodge, which is going to be an absolute cracker, with Preston Lodge going to the top of the table. Kirkcaldy, of course, won all their games, their 2 games, but sat it out in the first week. We've just heard from Andy Hill. Andy Hill, the head coach of Glasgow Hawks. They won today against Kelso.
Bit different from last week, where we got off to actually a really good start and probably dominated the first part of the game, but all credit to Kelso. They just showed you how kind of border teams tend to be, is they dug deep and managed to get themselves back in the game, even got themselves in front just after half time. But after that, showed real resilience from the boys and composure for the likes of Liam Brimson, Paul, Kieran Cross, just to back themselves, take the 3 points and just build themselves back in the game. And that's exactly what they've done, and managed to get ourselves a score, which caused the 4 tries and also got us in front. And from there we just looked really good. We looked very good in attack in terms of the way we scored a few first phase or 2 phase tries that we'd kind of organised. So that was really, really positive. But in terms of work-ons, we probably need to look at, goal our red zone defence, which is inside the 22, where Kelso were really clinical. They weren't up there much, but when they did get there, they scored. However, it was a must-win game for us, we felt, and obviously good to come out the right side of that, and that's good to be looking at it from the top looking down rather from the bottom looking up. Absolutely, and I think we can hear from Matty Carrier, the hat-trick hero from Peebles for today.
Oh, it was a great result today for us. We were under a wee bit of pressure in that early part of the game, but the guys worked out what they needed to do, and I think we by far finished the stronger. Second half, our physical dominance started to tell. We put some really good phases together and got that reward and controlled the scoreboard pretty well and got into a position where we were pretty clear and comfortable in that last part of the game. So great win, great to get 5 points. And we'll look forward now to Gala. And if you thought Matty Carrier sounded incredibly like the head coach Graham Patterson, that's because it was.
Great win for Peebles, though. Congratulations to them. Well, our closing headlines tonight in the Premiership. There were wins for Curry, Glasgow Hawks, Heriots, Melrose, Ayr, and last night's winners, Watsonians. In National 1, victories for Gala, GHA, Glasgow Accies, Jed Forest, and Peebles. National 2, there were wins for Kirkcaldy last night, GHK, Gordonians and Preston Lodge. Full results and tables will be available at rugbyradio.co.uk very soon. Next week our commentary game is again from National 1, Gala against Peebles at Netherdale, and we'll have reporters at other games as well, a few crackers. But that's just about it for today. So my thanks to the team of Robin Purdy, Robert Hogg, Hugh Brown, Sam Matthews, Donald Crawford, Kelly Riddle, Barbara Shield, Neil Hinnigan and Colin Black, and also Luke Townsend making a cameo appearance at half-time. But we'll be back next Saturday at 2:30, keeping you totally up to date with the latest scores right across Scotland. Until then, from me, Stuart Cameron, and the team, bye for now.